See.
And there's Ian.
Alright, yeah, we can wait for him to come in.
Hello, sorry. I was talking with someone. Okay, so sorry folks, I didn't get to see you sooner. Alright, here you go. This is basically the stuff that Lucy did. And then the cover letters from me. And I was gonna have my own stuff printed off, but I didn't because I was too busy. So I'm gonna just say it, the portions that I have about it during the discussion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is the handout that Yvonne was bugging me about, so sorry.
I know, well, I didn't mean to
So
bug
sorry.
you. I would have been happy to do that for you.
Let me make sure I got plenty of them. You got yours. Here we go. Where? Thank you.
Cale, Surgeon Stoneberg is making his way here.
And I think I'll give you a fancy.
You did, and I can give a fancy for,
Also, thank you.
Yeah.
So
I'll give it to Heidi for Heidi's perusal, and then I'll take the ruled one for the record, that's fine. Well, yeah, we can actually refer to that one for the record. Either way, we're golden. Perfect.
Okay, Yvonne, are you good?
Yeah, we get the recording going, we're ready to go.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully Liz and Bruce are able to.
Did we not hear she say
Recording in progress.
Liz.
There's just a line across the TV screen.
Yeah, that's somebody's video.
Okay, good.
I think that was you maybe
I think that's a couch.
Oh, maybe a cord.
Maybe they'll come back. Oh, hi.
Liz pushed me down so she could get in before me.
Oh, yeah.
You know that's wrong.
It must be a Monday tonight.
Only on
Would you
my
mind passing that to Cale?
I'm sorry.
That's okay, just wanted to. Where did you go? I was printing stuff off. You know, this is why I didn't.
Oh my gosh.
This is why I didn't print it off in the first place, because this is what happens
Oh,
when you
that's
try to, but this one did turn out, so there you go, I guess I'll take one for myself. I've read it, but I'll take that one.
Okay.
But that's
It's
what
just
happens
a-
with those, that's why I never printed them out from before.
Okay.
I didn't know that it would actually print one, so I got
Okay,
that
good,
one for
yeah.
you.
Yeah, this is just a tweet from
I know.
someone that is
Sorry, Mary.
gonna talk about what I think something that's happened just since the last meeting.
Do you want me to make copies, or did she make enough copies? I did, I made here in the back. Okay, perfect.
This is something that's happened since the
Just
last
to make this,
meeting on Florida.
Just to make
So
this legal
this
for
is
you.
fresh, that's why it's a tweet, and it's not, like I have.
oh, that will go on.
I
Wait,
have-
take one of that.
Okay.
This was weird.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And then this is, I wrote this, and then
Okay,
everything
yeah.
here is a copy of basically what.
Does everybody want to turn their mics on?
This is information about fluoride.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Alright, it's 7:04, I'm gonna go ahead and start the meeting. We're in the Sheridan City Council chambers. Yvonne, can you call roll?
George.
Here.
Acuff. Here. Buckles.
Present.
McElroy.
Here.
Hebert. Hodges. Here. Houston.
Present.
Lucy, did you get one of these?
Yes, I did.
Okay. If you want. So now, go ahead and hand that down to him.
Thank you.
So I believe we have Sergeant Stoneberg here.
Yes, sir.
Hi. Would you mind coming up first? I'll have you come up and talk prior to public comment in case you have to get called away.
Well, thank you for having me. I just want to let everybody know, the sheriff's office, if you don't know, I am a sergeant for the sheriff's office out here in Sheridan. Just give a brief snippet of me because I've never met any of you. So I'm a sergeant here in Sheridan and Wilmina. Been in law enforcement about 22 years now. worked in another county, came down to Yamhill County recently, about 15 months ago. And I was asked to come and chat about an event that happened at the library. It's an ongoing investigation with some partner agencies with the sheriff's office. But I want everybody here to know in the room that there's no danger to the city or to any person here, if that makes sense. So it's an ongoing investigation to help another partner, law enforcement partner, with an event that happened at the library. Any questions so far?
I'm assuming it will be a while before we can talk about those partners.
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't want to be too cryptic, folks, but the bottom line is some investigations, we have to work on them, and then as things would come forth, or if info needed to be passed out to the city, to you, sir, and the city council, we would do that at those specific times. I'm not trying to be sneaky, it's just reality. We're trying to keep the integrity of the investigation close. But like I mentioned, there's no harm or damage or anything to the city residents here.
But if something were, say, to come up in the investigation later down the road that the city would need to know, I'm sure that would be something we would for sure know, especially if it was involving safety.
Absolutely. And but before coming to Yamhill County, I worked with the city of Cornelia City as an example for about 3 years with those city council folks and the mayor there. And I am here for you folks. And so if there's a concern, and I'm here obviously for as well, if there's a concern, we at the sheriff's office are here to help you. She has all my contact info. You can email me. I'm on day shift now, so I'm more present than I was on nights. And so we're here to help the city and make sure the city's safe. Yeah.
So any questions regarding the incident or the investigation that should be directed to Yamhill County?
Yes. Like I mentioned, we're helping another larger agency with this. And if we can't answer that question for you, we can move it over to them and get those answers for you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions?
I'm sorry I'm a few minutes late. It's been busy today.
It's okay. We started late. Don't worry about it.
We were late too.
All right. As I mentioned, my email, phone number, I'm always here for you, folks. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
you being here.
All right. Take care.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and go on to our first public comment period. You have one. I'll go ahead and read the full statement. Public comment portion of the agenda is the opportunity for the council to listen to the public, but not for dialogue. The public is allowed up to 3 minutes to present information relevant to the city. The topic issue brought up may be referred by the council to the city manager for inclusion in a subsequent council agenda. Council has the discretion to ask questions. After comments are concluded, please note complaints should first be addressed to the appropriate city department and or the city manager prior to directly addressing the council. So we have Tara Summers.
Thank you. My name is Sarah Summers. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I am formally requesting that these issues be put on the next meeting agenda if that's a possibility. If not, I'd like to have somebody contact me so I know what steps I need to take. I was here and spoke on August 19th regarding a dangerous building located partially on my property at 635 Northeast Hill. Since that date, I have yet to hear from anyone regarding what can be done to have this building removed. I do have a copy of the municipal code, if you need to see that, to demonstrate the number of violations that this barn meets. I recently had to put up, in fact today, put up a bunch of fencing in order to keep my pets from going in through the crumbled foundation. I believe just a simple inspection will determine that the building is in fact derelict. It's falling apart. Just, you know, I've heard that there was some encouragement to do the right thing, and although that is commendable, it doesn't work out. Unfortunately, the right thing is subjective. The code is not. I'd also like to address the drainage issues that were created when there was some landscaping done. Rainy season is soon upon us, and once again, there's been no resolution to the problem. Kai Cotton did attempt to remedy the situation with the catch basin. However, there was no follow-up on that, and my backyard still floods because of that. Finally, the city of Sheridan had, I'd like to address a notice of administrative action, a minor partition on Hill Street, P-93-6, dated December 16th of 93. The applicants in that document were George and Richard Brayman. In the document states, the city has granted preliminary plat approval for the above mentioned partition, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, the barn on the site must be removed. 1993. Page 3 of the document, under 3, findings of fact, letter B, present land use and site conditions under site characteristics, states there is a barn in the access flag lot portion of lot 2, which must be removed to provide access to the site. On page 4, conclusion, it once again states the preliminary plat is approved. Final plat approval shall be subject to the following conditions. Number 1, the barn must be removed. Unfortunately, when I bought my property, I didn't get a seller's disclosure, so I wasn't able to address it at the time. However, as I'm unaware of any statute of limitations, the documents state that the city of Sheridan is responsible for enforcing the partition requirements with property owner. Or is it still my property because the partition was illegal because the barn wasn't removed? I'm simply seeking to have the situation resolved. I'd like to have the drainage issue addressed and corrected, and I'd like to have this dangerous building removed before it collapses on my property. I do have photos that I would provide as well as the documentation from
Is it
my apologies.
one or is it?
It's just one stack of photographs of the building and the statue. So that is all I have. Thank you very much.
I'll get ahold of you tomorrow if that's fine.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I'll clip it together and pass it. Oh.
Here, I'm not a stapler family. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Jim, can you hand this back over to, all right, is that the only one?
Yes.
Okay, all right, we'll move on then. So,
Unless there's anybody else.
I didn't receive any, requests for, no forms.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, so I believe, so then we have a presentation on the report of city forest land, from Brent Keller.
Thank you, Mayor. Did folks have a chance to review this?
Yes.
Had it in their packets.
Okay, good, it's in the back. So I'll run through this.
Would you like me to share it on the screen as well?
Yeah, that'd be great, sure. Thank you very much and good evening. I'm going to present the city of Sheridan's Stony Mountain Forest Land, Forest Management Plan. I'm calling it forest land. I think you tend to say, well, that's our watershed up there, but it's interesting because it's a water producing area. But when I think of a watershed, I think of it as an area that catches water. And it's like right on a ridge there. So that's just semantics, but I'm calling it your forest land. Because the water isn't really generated from catching it in streams, but it's in the springs and wells. So very neat property. So a forest management plan can serve a variety of purposes. I think for a city, it's important as councils can change and folks can come and go and have a plan in the file or on the shelf there to pull down. And like if somebody new comes deal with the public, they wanna know that as well, especially if you're gonna do some activity out there. Well, why are we doing this? Have we thought about this? What do we have out there? So that, you know, serves you very well to have a plan in place. Main purpose of a forest management plan is to guide the landowner through management of their forest land. It's a reference document, you know, you may want, now I guess with the internet, you have a question, you Google it. But, you know, may want to know, well, what is our soil type out there? What's the climate? Or, some of the property description stuff can be useful. But it also establishes your current future goals, which will guide your management decisions and some specific activities. So you have roughly 117 acres of forest land on Stony Mountain. Some foothills on the east side of the Coast Mountain Range. And an interesting history there, I got this from your website, going back to early 1900s. The original water source, this La Chutena Mary Springs, which shows up in my Onyx app, it shows up on the quad maps, it shows up in the ODF streams layer. So it's kind of neat. There's some history there with that particular spring. So that was your first water source, early 1900s. It's right in the middle of the current ownership. If you refer to exhibit, well, any of these exhibits, so exhibit B will show that La Chutena Mary Creek at the top of that would be that spring there. Of course, I don't know if most folks have been out there, but it's about 9 miles north of here is where the property is.
Are those the Balmoral Springs or is this a different spring?
I'm not sure. I don't.
What was the question? I heard the springs, but
Balmoral, is this the Balmoral Spring or is this a different?
I'm not familiar with Balmoral. There's Cakevine, Latutes, Baltimore. There's Poppers 1 and 2. The Balmoral is familiar to me.
And any of that additional detail, I had a certain amount of stuff. I got some stuff from Gary. Any of that additional detail I can get in here before you guys. I'll maybe get with Kai on what he just rattled off there. I have a map of just springs and water rights and wells, but if you want that further resolution in the plan, I can get that folded in here. Now, like I said, about 9 miles north of here. Your elevation ranges from 1,500 to 2,000 feet there. It's a fairly gentle sloped property. The topography is real gentle, easy to manage, and good in terms of like not having a lot of issues or potential issues with erosion and complicated maintenance and stuff like that. Climate, everybody's I think pretty familiar with the climate around here. It's pretty mild. I'd say your average highs in the summer 85 degrees or so, average lows in the winter about 30 up there. Primary tree species is Douglas fir. There's some alder, maple, various hardwoods, and typical understory shrubs such as ferns, vine maple, huckleberries, and so on. There's 3 main soil types, and you'll see that on the soil map, exhibit D. There's several types, but the 3 largest types are this hem-cross cliston complex, the Astoria silt loam, and brick silt loam, which not surprisingly are all very good for timber production and water production. Your adjacent landowners is shown on exhibit E. Are pretty straightforward, which is a benefit as well as far as the security of the property, and it just simplifies a lot of things in terms of neighbors. Weyerhaeuser's your main neighbor to the south. Zero Land Management is to the north. At Keevine Estate to the west, and then that Sandy Davis property is a smaller property there to the west as well. Management history. I'm on page 2 here. appears the entire property was harvested at some point or another in the last 50 years. I'm not sure the whole, this is another thing folks know, I can fold in here as well, the history of the landowners there. I mean, if I had to guess, I assume it was Weyerhaeuser, because that's always the same. Yes, I'm not sure if it was industry land or one time or not, but it's all been harvested in the last 50 years. Doesn't look like there's been any activity really since I think the early 2000s when they were preparing for the reservoir construction. There hasn't been any recent activity. There's a rundown of the inventory there at the bottom of page 2. I walked the property one day, just got kind of a high level look at what you have there. So if you want to refer to Exhibit F, I can go through each stand. And a stand generally, a timber stand obviously would be like a contiguous group of trees with similar characteristics. But in a forest inventory, you have rock beds and roads and things that might not have trees. We still refer to them as stands. So that's the case here with some of your non-forest pieces of the property. So stand 1 is a nice 20 to 30-year-old Douglas fir plantation with some hardwoods mixed into it. Stands 2 and 3 are these open areas around the reservoir. Stand 2 is more resembles, a meadow with scattered regeneration, some brush. Stand 3 is right around the reservoir. That's really, in a sense, just bare land, a little more intensely managed in terms of the vegetation. There's some scattered regeneration there and lower lying brush as well. And then stands 5, 6, and 7 are pretty similar. They're 30 to 50 years old, with 15 to 25,000 board feet per acre. But very nice stands at this time in terms of them being fully stocked and healthy and so on. Page 3, look at management goals and objectives. I laid these out as I would see it for the city. I've managed several different watershed properties, and this is what I would interpret to be your management goals and objectives. The primary management goal out there is to it's water production, to produce clean, pure water for domestic consumption, which you'll achieve by managing the forest health and vigor. You want to provide sanitary and vigorous ecosystem. This is all done in the quality of water production. A third goal and objective would be potentially generating income. This is something you wouldn't be able to do on an annual basis. It's a small property, but every 10 years, maybe a small harvest if it's feasible. And with a property like this, larger property, you'll just kind of roll with the market and do an annual program. You certainly want to be targeting peaks in the market. If you were going to do something like that, you wouldn't want to do it right now. It's not the best. But that can generate income to put back into the property to manage, even if you're just looking to manage it as it is and keep it healthy. It can provide money for road maintenance, canning, just types of things. Lay out some policies and guidelines here in terms of public involvement, access, harvest areas, and chemical use. I think most cities want to involve the public with any forest land planning, at least to the extent of it's discussed in the meetings, and that citizens are encouraged to participate, just so city leadership's informed to citizens' opinions and perspectives. Public access, I recommend, I believe that is the case out there, you restrict activity in terms of maintaining a sanitary area for your drinking water, reduces fire risk, and so public entry into the property is prohibited. There's obviously the reservoir, and I'm not sure the extent of all the water system out there, but there's lots of wellspring sites that you need to protect. person said, well, let's do a little harvest here. Well, okay, where is, in particular, when you're not just looking at where's the nearest stream or the reservoir, when you have all this underground system, it may just not be feasible in areas to operate. So you want to have meaningful, defined and safe buffers around activities.
Excuse me, a point of information. May I ask the speaker to speak up a little? I'm hard of hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, totally. I'm usually told to quiet down. How's that?
Thank you.
Sure. And you'd want to have, whether it was a small property or 10,000 acres, in a watershed, you want to limit the openings you create. So you wouldn't want to have, let's say, okay, let's do some harvesting. You wouldn't harvest 40 acres at one time, where you want to have create smaller openings. I've got some rough max size, maybe a maximum of 30 acres for a clear cut or 50 acres for a thinning, but you just want to minimize your impact there, to not create erosion. And you troublesome in a watershed.
I do have a question real quick while you mentioned clear cut. I'm not super familiar with forestry practices, but some time ago I was under the impression that clear cutting was not
Good.
but it sounds like in here, it almost sounds like that would be the preferred way to go about harvesting some of these trees.
Well, that's the best way for Douglas fir. It's shade. It's somewhat shade tolerant, but it's mostly shade intolerant, so it grows really well in full sun.
Okay.
So you can do uneven age management where folks will thin and then maintain multiple layers of canopy, and that is an option, but you'll greatly reduce your growth of the stand. It's just not as efficient and economically productive. Versus like on the east side, they'll do more with pine, uneven age management. But that's because I think want to, it doesn't, for the same reasons I described with Douglas fir, it's good to do with pine. They often do it more because it takes so long to get the trees growing, but they'll want to preserve their regeneration. It's already there, so they'll fan and try to promote the understory.
Thank you.
And then chemicals, this is a primary, I give watershed tours like at the windmill and the Hamilton places. The first thing I always mention on the tours, everything you see out here is done without chemicals. So I think it's important that that's a priority, I think, particularly for the public. And in forestry, industrial forestry, it is a very common tool to use herbicides to control competition, but you can do it without, you can do it, it can be more expensive, and takes a little more resolve, but you can certainly operate without chemicals and just do the work by hand. So that'd be a policy as well. I would say that that's a last resort. Use chemicals around your water production area. To your question there, harvest methods, commercial thinning and regeneration harvest, which is a nice term for clear cut, that someone came up with in terms of looking at not what we just did, but what we're doing going forward, which is regeneration. So, but commercial thinning and clear cut are the most, those are the main methods the city I would recommend consider for harvesting the timber. Again, Douglas fir being shade intolerant, it grows better in full sun. It's more economical. It's also it's a higher cost to do thinning, so you're getting less volume. And you don't get as much bang for your buck, especially on a small property like that, where you can't lay out a 300-acre thinning to get some revenue. Might be better just a 10-acre small opening, be more efficient. And also with thinning nowadays, the mills aren't buying as much of those larger logs. It's not true to say you can't sell larger logs, but there's less mills taken. So if you're growing bigger trees, you could grow yourself out of, being able to market them in the future. I'll quickly run through this. Silviculture, several steps you want to take from, if you did a cut from planting through age 25 in terms of monitoring the plantations for brush, considering a pre-commercial thinning around age 20. Forest land maintenance and protection. You've got about 1.5 miles of road out there. I walked most of it. You don't have major streams running through the property. You have really gentle terrain. Very simple road maintenance required out there. It would mostly be road brushing, maybe some ditching and grading. Thinking about fire, which is a common thing that everyone's flying nowadays for good reason. It's not entirely preventable. That event in 2020, there was 10% humidity and 50-mile-an-hour winds. There's not a lot you can do, but in an average situation, there's a lot you can do to mitigate your fire risk and at least create a situation where folks can't access the property and minimize the damage or put the fire out. So I mentioned the road system, the neighbors, silviculture, salvage logging, restricting access is some of the key elements that would mitigate your risk. Road system should be kept open for access for fighting fire. You should consider the neighbors around you. The Weyerhaeuser's a super neighbor in terms of fire risk because they intensely manage the property. If something happened, they'd be right on it. Work with ODF, Weyerhaeuser. Something starts on BLM, the response is going to be slow. Their stands are less vigorous because they don't really manage BLM more than the Forest Service, but they don't manage too intensely. So there can be some more risk there, but it's good to know what's going on around the perimeter of your property. Some folks consider or do like fire breaks around neighbors like the Forest Service. If nothing else, just be monitoring what's going on with a private neighbor, like the folks at the home there. What are they doing on the property line? Are they piling slash, that kind of thing should be looked at. And the silviculture, I would say that the same would be producing quality water. The maintenance of a healthy, vigorous, robust forest. By virtue of that, you'll mitigate your fire risk and produce good water. So I think just so you don't, the stands aren't decadent, they can resist insect and disease. You're not building up slash. So silviculture methods that maintain the forest in a healthy way are another way to mitigate fire through that build up the slash that can instead more fuel, or if stands get too dense, then the insect and disease can get in there, weaken the trees. Now trees are dying, now there's more fuel. And so that's important. If you had a case where you had ice, wind, drought, take out a section or like a heat dome kills a bunch of trees, you want to consider salvage logging or somehow dealing with that again, so you don't have this buildup of fuel. It just increases fire intensity if there was a fire. And then of course restricting access as well. So you don't have folks walking the property building a fire in the summer or smoking or shooting or any of those kind of things. Would want to eliminate those risks. Invasive species are typically the most common ones would be Scotch broom and Himalaya berry or blackberry. But in terms of protecting your forest land, you want to monitor these things as well. Again, that can be attacked by hand. It'd be, I think, a last resort to use chemicals out there. I have directly done that. It's real common to cut down alder and maples and stuff. But most folks see Scotch broom when they go to spray it, but you can tackle it by hand. If you're willing to do that. Moving on to stewardship. In terms of the forest practice rules, of course, course, we have the Forest Practices Act. A lot of folks certify their forests or do things, and more rules now have been established this year even, so there's, you're definitely well covered in terms of best management practices out there, just by the state law that's pretty strict. And then your policies I laid out here would exceed those rules anyway, so. Dimension logging, out there, it's all really gentle slopes, so you don't have to worry about, erosion from operations. Everything out there be done with shovels or ground-based machine. We wouldn't have any cable logging on that property. And you'd want to restrict, if you did operations, you'd want to restrict that seasonally, so you're only doing that in the summer and not out there in the winter mucking around and, creating sediment and compaction and those types of things. Wildlife, that's something else that would be covered in the rules. You don't really have the type of timber that would be like spotted owl habitat or that kind of thing, but something you certainly would protect if you did have it. And then in terms of stewardship of the water, obviously, that's the main goal out there. You have buffer restrictions near the reservoir, the streams, springs, and chemical restrictions. And that simple road system, these are all elements of city forest land that will bolster and maintain water quality. So finally here, I have a plan of action for each of the stands out there. And the only thing I'd immediately recommend considering would be that stand one, that plantation, doing a pre-commercial thin in there. It's probably 350 trees an acre, getting pretty dense. And I'd recommend reducing that to 200, 250, just to improve the stand growth. Again, back to just maintaining a vigorous, healthy forest where that stand isn't becoming decadent and slowing down and collapsing on itself. So, in those open areas right around the reservoir, it's pretty easy, as folks are out there, just take a look, quick walk around and monitor the invasive species that could come in there. Otherwise, the vegetation that's there is fine. And then those three other vegetable stands I consider a harvest to some degree in the next 10 years. You're certainly having some nice timber, it's doing well. There's certainly opportunity there, but that's something the city would want to tackle. So. I know you got a lot on your agenda, I'm sure. So thanks for.
So what is the next step for this? Do we need to decide if this is something we want to move forward with, or is this a plan that the city puts together, or hasn't?
Well, that was one of my questions to Brent. If the city goes forward with like item 1 listed here, the pre-commercial thing, is that something that we hire you to do and you go through, you pick the loggers and monitor the loggers, or how does that work?
Yeah, we have reforestation contractors, meaning folks that do planting, thinning, burning, spraying, just all that kind of stuff. So we have those folks available. It'd be pretty simple to lay that out, flag it out, file a notification with the state, just real quick, and line up an operator to do that. So that's something we could do, once we pin down the plan here, but you can decide that today. But I would like maybe a little of that detail from Kai on the spring names. And I don't know if anybody else see anything they'd like to see in here, or like, hey, that's not right, or why don't you put this in there? I'd like to give you a final copy of this, the final version. This was, to me, it's done, but I still presented it here as a draft, so because I wasn't sure just had one everybody have a chance to review and sound off on stuff.
Ian, did you have something?
Go ahead.
Roxy, sorry, Roxy, go ahead.
I was interested, because I'm pretty sure they're called the Balmoral Springs and they're on the property.
Okay, yeah.
And the location, I don't know if that was part of, water rights, if that's part of that process. those springs being,
Could be Baltimore.
Baltimore?
We should Baltimore.
Bob Morrow is a guy that lives in Willamina, baseball Bob.
So we're talking about just all this is Baltimore.
Baltimore.
You just kind of mean all the springs in general, or?
No, there's a specific Baltimore spring and a diversion.
Okay,
And that's a big one.
so I'll make a note.
That's the big one. That's why I thought when I didn't see it, I was concerned.
There's also a Bob Majors,
Oh,
which is a horizontal well that was developed up there. It's not in service, though, we don't use it. But that's another Bob.
can we get some of that information? I mean, maybe
I just got
the
that.
rest of the council might not, but
No, that'd be true.
that,
I got this from
If it's
Gary,
available.
so I was like, what, any maps of stuff? He's like, this is all I can find. So maybe you'd have some more stuff.
And GSI just finished their stuff too,
And-
the water rates.
and from what I understood, we need to identify and locate these springs and streams before we, and water sources before we can log or do any.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's in here. I don't know what, forget which section I had. But you have to-
That's how I would like to know too, for that reason.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't want to turn the wheel out there with not knowing exactly. Because this is quite an interesting system. Maybe this is common, but this is very new to me, and all this underground water stuff, so. Yeah, you definitely want to know for sure. Because walking by, it's like, oh, this looks easy. Well, for all I know, there's some 1,000-year-old water right that you don't want to be driving around on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, listen.
Just concerned.
Back to the pre-commercial thinning, is that just for slash burn piles, or is it a monetary advantage to thin logs out?
It's just a treatment, it's a cost, so some folks will try to push it to like an age where, okay, now if I can take some logs, I can do some thinning and ship some logs and ship some pulp, but in this case, I think the trees they're not merchantable, so.
So it'd just be burn piles?
On exhibit E, I see the main road, we'll call it that, going along the eastern edge of what we're looking at. On the BLM land, there's a single yellow line, which must mean a trail or a cow path. Is that?
Oh, I know what you mean.
Oh, yeah. That looks like a road.
You know, compared to, I mean, I've been up there and I know what this wider road looks like. I can't imagine what the little thin one would be.
Yeah, it's just a forest road.
Yeah.
In the ownership layer, but the county tax lot layer, that's a tax lot. It's just, I think if you zoom way in on it, it's probably 2 lines, but, yeah, I saw that too, I was like, I don't know, to the county layers.
Thank you.
Anybody, oh, Ian?
Does the earthen dam fall completely within stand 3?
What is it,
Sorry, exhibit F, which is page 14, 56.
Turn around there.
Exhibit F.
Okay, there it is. Okay, it fall within which dam? Sorry.
Stand 3.
That would be the idea, I think, yeah.
It basically encompasses the dam. Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, so I'll get the final, work with Kai on a few of these details. I'll give you guys the final version, so.
Okay.
This is a nice report.
Thank you very much. All right,
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Always good to see you, thanks for coming.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you so much.
Lucy?
I'm trying to contain severe asthma attack. And I forgot to take my medicine. I am a rescue. I think it's not working right. Track.
Yeah. Go.
I do not have anything contagious. But when you listen to it, it probably scares me.
You do.
I know. do warn you. I just forgot to take that medicine. Had to get those
Do you need
little
help?
Sorry.
Well, my big one's at the house, but you need to get those little teeny rescuers. I'm gonna try it, see if it works.
I think just
Well-
imagine walking around up there, somebody might think they saw Bigfoot, right?
While Lucy's, doing that, does anybody have questions about the pavement management plan before we get into it?
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Liz?
I do. I read through it, of course, this morning, and I went right to the figure, 9,000, a little over 9,000 to have this done. And all that I see that they're gonna do is create a map of our road system and maybe put it online so it's accessible. And then define which roads need maintenance and improvement. And I'm thinking, why would we spend $9,000 for that when public works are driving our roads all the time anyway? And it's pretty obvious which ones need improvement and which, I'd like to know the advantage of spending $9,000 for this, so I think,
So the map is just part of the cost. They're also gonna actually like physically go out and inspect each road and then kind of grade them. And then on that map, we'll see, basically, it's kind of, from my understanding, it's color coded. So basically, if it's all right, it's green. If it's yellow, if it's not too good, it's yellow. And then if it's real bad, it's red. And then as we make improvements to our roads, then the map will update too. And I think one of the benefits to that is then we'll know which streets to fix first. But Kai, you probably have more info on this.
There's something I find interesting about PCIs. These are pavement studies. It teaches you how to take care of your best road and your worst, and everything in between. People only tend to see the worst ones, but the PCI will actually identify all of your great roads too, and what you have to do to those to keep them great. So that's part of that piece. We did have a PCI here some years back, being an engineer and public works employee did it. The problem with pavement management is there's not enough money to do it. So a document like this from an established firm does give you some options, I would think, for funding. You would be able to move forward with this document and seek funding with that document. Basically, anytime we seek general public funds, or federal funds, we have to have a document that is written by a professional and has been adopted by the council to identify that need. And then we take that document to the state or federal government, whoever it is, and that's the document we use to show them the need. They're really important for funding, but I get your question, and when I learned first about PCIs, I never thought about the good roads and what maintenance you have to do for those, and I've been in public works for 25 years.
So that would help you and the public works people know how to maintain the roads at different various levels of decay or whatever.
It will, and I'll be able to bring it back to you and show you why. It helps bolster the confidence in the public and in the council. Street programs are expensive.
Yeah, so this is expensive.
I agree 100%. It's much cheaper than most of your alternatives as far as getting the PCI index. There's no coin in there. There's not enough engineering work. There's no center sections that they're looking at. So when you flip the street sideways, like you cut a cake in half, that's a center section. They're not doing any of that. They're gonna do a lot of surface observation. Mind you, I've only been back a couple of weeks and I read that yesterday. So beyond what you know, that's all I know about this company, although they do have some great recommendations in there by local government agencies.
And I know Jim called.
I talked to Joe, what he said they do is they drive the whole street, they look at it, but then they try and choose what they see as the worst part of a block, and basically a 15 to 100 yard area is what they actually measure. And he said they do pick, the worst, they don't go with the best, but that way you know what's the worst part of that street in effect.
Okay, Roxy?
Also, we need to remember that if we're gonna develop Stony Mountain, we need to develop the way up there and the way around it, and it's just us with grants that will help us start that process.
Well, sure.
Did you have something?
Yeah, I have worked with this company before. I thought that they did a great job. He also will come and give a presentation to the council at the end with all the findings. But, they work with almost all the small cities, I would say, including Carlton too. But what, is really great about this is that the software tells you input essentially how much money you have for maintenance in your own budget, and it shoots out the best way to spend that money. And so this council will also engage in an activity where they have to decide how you're gonna crack this code, right? And so you'll go through this project where, you know, you're deciding if you wanna keep the good roads good and let the bad ones, or like the D rating, right? Just let them crumble, because you're basically gonna otherwise be dumping money into something that's not, it's not a good way to spend money, right? They're too far gone. And so you eventually start to get all this information, and it can help you to determine how much you really need to annually keep going. And where I worked before, it took several years, but the mayor, the budget committee, and the city council became reliant on this document to tell them the conditions of the roads. And they ultimately went to the voters, and the voters, I think they went to the voters, I don't remember, but they ultimately passed a small amount of a street fee. And it was, I think, around $2 or something, and it doesn't get you far, but it's something better than nothing. But everybody started to agree that that was something, because otherwise it was hopeless. So we don't have any of that information currently. We don't know which street it's better than the other street to put the money in, just like Kai's saying, you know, how many good streets do we really have? We don't really have that information. So what I think is best to spend money is wisely, and this helps to determine how to spend wisely.
Sure. Ian?
May I address the public works director? Yeah. So, is there like a guy named Steve at this other place that we could call up and have him do it for like $5,000? Like this other place that did it before?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of firms out there, they all use different software.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely, we could get other pricing, yeah.
I mean, is this the one that you like though?
I'm not familiar with them.
Yeah.
But I am familiar with some of the agencies, especially Polk County. I've worked with them, and Todd Whitaker is a great engineer.
Yep.
And that his work goes along with me, and he's on that list.
Okay.
But I could call him for sure, or I could shop around. I know Independence uses somebody else. I know GSI is in Hillsborough and has been at this council meeting before. I brought him here. So for this very thing. Yeah, so there's definitely other options, yeah, absolutely.
My point in asking the question is to the point that I don't know jack shit about this. But you've been doing this for 25 years.
Yeah.
So I'd like to hear from you which companies we should look at, which we shouldn't, or whatever, you know, and what sort of programs they offer. Or whatever, or hear your recommendations at least. So that's my point, is that I don't know anything about it. So.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Great, Jim?
Two things. One, wouldn't it have been beneficial if we were gonna do something like this to do it before the chip sealing? I mean, if we kind of seal the road up, they're not gonna get as good a look at what's going on underneath.
I wasn't here, and I prefer not to walk in anybody else's shoes. I wasn't here.
Okay,
I'm sorry, but I got that one.
that's fine. And then the other thing I was noticing for the council, guys, hourly rate's $155. Okay, I'm good with that, not really, but that's his hourly rate. But the charge for the council meeting presentation is $1,200. That better be a long briefing at $155 an hour.
Well, they're probably charging you for their in-house preparation, so the documentation they put together, to present to you, they're charging you for their time, probably.
You would hope, you know, based on what, you know, if they do all this other stuff, great. They should give us something like this, a report, whether we pay them to present it or not.
I can't speak to, it's Ian, correct?
Yes, sir.
That is in my experience.
Page 27 lists what they'll put in the report. They do a report, a final report with street inventory report, maintenance and rehabilitation, history report. I mean, it's lengthy, the things, what they will put together.
And do you think you'll have time to research other companies? I know you're, you know, it's coming back and getting busy, so.
I think what I would do is lean on some of my peers and call them and ask them who they have experience with and our engineering firm. They certainly have a big pool of clients, so they would be probably my first stop.
Okay. Cause this sounds like something that, you know, it doesn't hurt to get more bids. If
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know, the next meeting, but maybe the first meeting in November. we
I
can
agree
do
100%.
that.
That was a great point.
Ian,
Just to be 100% clear, I'm not suggesting we do some sort of crazy, the guy spent 16 hours doing this. I was just thinking, this guy knows a hell of a lot more than me, so
Yeah.
I'd like to hear what he has to say about it. So.
yeah, I just wanna make sure that he
Sure.
felt like he, you know, wouldn't be asking too much, but it sounds like, that does sound like a good way to go about it. So,
Yeah, I'd probably give it 2-3 hours.
Is the rest of the council fine with that? We can,
And a couple more
I don't know if it's technically tabling it, but we'll just come back. Come back and,
It's always good to shop around, isn't it?
yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
It was above
Thank you.
what I had budgeted for.
Yeah.
Too. He said, I had asked why they went up in price, and it said that COVID, what took a toll on their firm, so.
COVID is an answer for lots of things. Okay, next we have,
Feel better?
yeah, let's hear it. That's good. Okay, next we have,
Resolution.
yeah, a, resolution accepting terms of the Yamhill County Care Organization Early Literacy Grant.
Awesome.
Roxy?
I make a motion that we, accept resolution 2024-Y, resolution accepting the terms of the Yamhill Community Care Organization Incorporated Early Literacy Grant as presented.
Okay, first and second. Any discussion on that? Ian?
My question relates to the terms of the, where is that? Sorry.
It's on page 43, I think. Exhibit A.
In terms of the drawing.
Yeah.
Outcome measures, reporting. Okay, so the outcome measures, is this, is that what they're requiring? Points 1, 2, and 3, that at least 15 families will attend the pre-K program at least once by June 30th, and at least 8 families will attend the pre-K program at least 3 times by June 30th, 2025. And number 3 is at least 90% of families surveyed will attest that pre-K literacy program helped them feel better to support their child's reading development.
Feel better able to support.
So
I don't have a problem with the language, I'm just asking. I'm just asking if it's.
So
No, but feel better, it's different than feel better able to
I think
support.
maybe, I don't know, maybe Gwen might be able to answer it better, but from reading that, that almost sounds like it's like measurable goals, like that's what they would like to see. I mean, if we don't meet those, I don't think that we don't get the money. I just think that those are like, you know, basically the goals of this, funding.
And then you say whether or not we're able to meet those.
Yeah, so if we don't meet them, we still get the money. But those are like their, or
Yeah.
our, is it YCCO's goals or our goals?
I think they're what Gwen wrote into the grant. Gwen
Okay.
is online, so she can answer that, but.
Page 35, but in the resolution, I'm sorry.
Oh, you got a
In
question?
the resolution, it says that the library has to meet the pre-program survey goals and the post-program survey goals. And he's outlined, and what Ian was just talking about are those goals.
Well,
What he's talking about is the outcome measures,
Yeah.
not the
So-
post-program goals.
Oh.
Is that listed somewhere else?
Are those in here? The program, you said the program goals is what?
Yeah, the post-program
Well,
goals.
the pre-program goal is to gauge parent interest in early learning activities, and 5, it's in the resolution.
Oh, the resolution program.
I don't understand if there's a question,
And
what's happening?
I think
I'm having trouble.
the question is basically, so it sounds like we have to meet the post-program goals.
So what are those goals?
Yeah, what are those? Are they different than?
Did you get the word post from,
on page 3, in the resolution.
I wrote the resolution, so there could be very well a miscommunication.
Oh,
Okay,
The
so the
resolution.
fifth
So the
paragraph,
word-
whereas,
Uh,
will you look at it and explain it,
Yes.
where, the fifth one?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The city of Sheridan Public Library is required to have that one, very
Yes.
deliberate.
Yeah.
Include conducting a pre-programmed survey, yes, engage parent interest in early learning activities, and follow with a post-program survey.
oh, yeah, we
Just a
just,
survey
yeah,
to
we
make
just-
sure,
yeah, we just asked those same people.
it's just like having a pre-math test, and then you go back and make sure that you
Okay, yeah, so it's
post after you learned the
So
unit
you
of
can-
math.
gauge if, what the change was basically
Yes.
for the program and after the program.
Does
Okay,
that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
That's what I thought, okay.
okay, right, Jim,
Staying with that, but I get what we just said. So if we don't meet the outcome measures, we would just say, well, we gave it a shot, but we failed, but we still get to keep the money, they're not gonna take it back.
Yes, yes. It helps them to know whether or not to fund something like this again, right? There's no, just because you didn't meet it, then you have a whole other questions to ask in social science. Why didn't you meet it, right? Like, surveys. Did we ask the right questions? Did we set our goals? Did we, I don't know, we could go on and on. Okay, cool.
any other questions? Yes, okay, all right, we will vote. Okay, all in favor? All right, that's unanimous, okay. Okay, moving on. To, work session topics. Yeah. So,
ARPA?
yeah,
Yes.
so these are just some items. We can remove things, add things, we don't have to spend money on any of these. We're just trying to start getting an idea of what, we could spend funds on, and I'm sure there's, more on here, or more that we could add on to here. But yeah,
I have a question, just
yeah, go ahead.
the very first paragraph, I was under the impression we had till October 2025 to at least get it dedicated towards it. This says year end 2026.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. I think it should be year end 2025.
No, I
Oh.
researched it, and I even have it right here
Oh, good.
on the AI,
October 2026 then?
December 31st, 2026.
Oh,
Oh.
December, okay.
Okay, so we have a lot more
But
time.
we must allocate the funds to specific projects by December 31st, 2024.
Whoa. So that's in 2 months.
So we have to have.
You just have to
them
allocate them,
allocated?
yeah, you just have to have a list.
Okay, cause this, I thought we
In
had,
our mind.
I thought we had until October 2025 to
Right.
allocate.
I
Probably
just,
under that.
right, that's what I'd say,
Oh.
like,
Okay.
this is,
Then we
for a long
better,
time, I've been set on using on one project on Sheridan Road, so I haven't been keeping up, but ARPA has been changing a lot since the last time I looked.
okay, well, we've got about 2 months to spend $1.3 million on it.
Well, come up with your
Allocate.
Okay,
game plan.
but after that deadline though, can we change it, or do we just lose money then?
No,
Can
it's
we
my
re-up?
impression that nobody wants to give this money back, it's much harder to go backward.
I just mean like,
to do it.
say we allocate money to, a project and then that doesn't work, or there's complications, they say, no, we can't do that. So that money allocated to that project, would we?
I don't know, Karen. I think
Reallocate
it's
it.
assumed that we have spent years getting to this,
Okay,
so
well, I mean, yeah,
it's
okay,
only
well-
recent since we're not spending it on Sheridan Road.
yeah.
And that's not even determined yet, are you wanting to spend it on Sheridan Road? You know, you still have that question, if you wanna do water and sewer lines there.
Yeah, but keep in mind with the water and sewer lines on Sheridan Road, those are easier to get with a grant or
Yes.
CDBG than ARPA money.
Sorry, this says, yes, ARPA regulations require local governments to return grant fundings that remains unobligated beyond the December 24 end of year deadline. Okay.
Okay, so,
Get her done.
yeah,
Okay.
so, we've got a list here, one that might, yes,
Sorry, that goes back into my thought of spend it big. Because you don't wanna have a whole bunch of little projects and something doesn't work out, and then you have to send the money back. You should just pick some bigger projects and get it done. So it's more secured, things are secured, maybe cost a little bit over, so you know that you're
Not nickel and dime.
not nickel and dime,
So-
yeah.
one of these that I think we might need to explain is the PLC and installing PRV at the Ballston PS.
Yeah, I wrote you
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
pulled
I
it from
sent you an email
The
about
new
that.
master, yes, we sent it, it's pulled directly from the drafted water master plan, sorry, I'm trying to talk about.
You're
Is this
fine, that's
okay? Okay,
That's
I feel like I'm yelling at all of you, but at least Denny can hear me. So, it is on the new drafted water master plan, and I have some information, but Kai and I got more information from the engineer, and he knows much more about the history of the Ballston Reservoir, or the Ballston pump station. So the Ballston pump station, for everybody to know, is essentially across the street from the Southside Park entrance. So you probably noticed it's a big gated area, okay? Come on over. And this is one of those places that I would like to advocate for. I think we should start to get some of the stuff that's on this drafted water master plan done that is not SDC eligible. So meaning you can't charge developers for it and it needs to be done.
Okay, break down the acronyms for us,
Yes,
so
we're getting-
PLC.
We're getting there. It's electricity stuff. Some of
Okay.
it. And pumping. Go ahead.
PRV is not a pressure reducing valve.
Yes, it's plumbing and electricity stuff. that needs to be done.
Does anybody have any questions first?
Yeah, what is that? What is a PLC and what would installing a new PRV like?
PLC is a program logic controller, and that is basically the brains that run that pump station. And that tells it when to turn on, when to turn off, what pumps to turn on, how long to turn them on for, what the chlorine level is that it's injecting, and getting that information back to us as well, so we know what's going on in real time.
So how's it done now? Is it, mobile or?
There is a unit there, it is an industrial grade unit, I'm sure it was impressive when it was installed in the nineties, but it has not functioned since I've been in and out of the city for years, but since 2011, I've never seen it function.
Wow. So I think somebody mentioned it, basically water just kind of spins around in there.
Somebody mentioned that, but I'm not aware of it.
Okay.
He's been back for 2 weeks, and so
Yeah.
there's a lot to get caught up.
Yeah, and I haven't touched the false yet, so.
Okay. But this would be a huge improvement to it though.
Yeah, and I do think the engineer is missing some information, and I know where that's at,
Okay.
so I'll be able to provide it with that, he'll have a better picture.
Okay. Ian?
For the, Ballston location, is that what we need there? And, or is there something else that we might need there that might be even more expensive?
That's a great question.
Yes, the engineers would like to see the SCADA system, which is also in the budget. But we could use.
Does this interact with Tyler Technologies,
No,
this, or where would the SCADA is what we talked about for the.
yeah, up
Okay.
there, so it automates,
So
water.
this does interact with our SCADA system?
It would,
It would?
yes.
Yes,
Okay. So this is a good upgrade
Yes,
in that
and
direction. yes.
necessary to function with our SCADA system.
and
Yep.
with the whole system, it would like live and
Right.
breathe together essentially, right? And then in addition to that, so I was thinking about that as well, we do have a SCADA system in the city's budget, which we look up. And you could also just decide to fund for that. And, or, not to, since I have the floor, the other thing is that there is a water, line on Evans Street that everybody would really like to get, redone, seems to be the word, and it's about 1.2 million, I think, at the last estimate, so probably 1.4 now.
So,
So that's a
but we
getting done.
couldn't do that and the Boston.
Nope.
Okay.
But you have Kai here to help guide of what's more important, I suppose, but we are seeing a lot of leaks on Evans, but that would essentially be the whole thing.
And since it is a water line, I mean, you know, there are, you know, grants and things, but that's kind of slow, whereas this, we have the funding right now.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, Kai, Evans is just shifting a lot is the problem there.
How do we,
The line's beyond its lifetime. You know, pipe usually lasts 20 to 50 years. It's older.
oh, wow, okay. Well,
And it's a major.
Is
Is
it
it-
clay?
No.
Is the street itself shifting?
There are neighbors that share their own stories about how the land at their house is moving.
Okay. Would we have to fix the whole street, or can we just fix the wall? Because like if we fix the water line, but the street's still shifting, then aren't we just gonna
I think that's why we
have
hire
a problem?
engineers.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any geotechnical issues up there,
Yeah.
Okay.
any shifting on it.
Okay. Well, with that, is the Evans, is that part of the water master plan? So is that kind of already in the works?
It's in there.
It's in there, okay.
It's probably your last one too.
Well,
Sorry.
okay, Jim?
We better.
You know, it's disappointing to talk about Evans Street because all this other stuff, I think everybody would like to see, me personally, like to see the plaza decking, to have the plaza come back to normal, but hey, I think I wanna remind everybody that, that line on Evans Street goes completely, the whole city's out of water, not just people on Evans Street.
It is just people on Evans. The line they're talking about is not the transmission line. It is a distribution line. It is a 6-inch AC line to be specific.
But it still goes to Louis.
We have unhappy residents, dissatisfied customers. And disruption of service is something we don't like,
And a little bit of flooding at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah. and boil water notices.
And all that stuff.
I think then maybe we can see if there's, 'cause we'll be able to get a CDBG grant soon. I wonder if we can get a CDBG grant that will fix that section of Evans.
Only have two, essentially, it's like a library, right? You can only have two of those checked out at a time. And you will have the Yamhill one, the Yamhill Street one checked out for years to come. So first the planning part, and then you'll have, move into the construction if they,
So, but then the second one then,
you will, if the council wants to do the downtown plan, that's a CDBG money too.
I think if we did Evans, that CDBG would probably be expended soon. I mean, if it's just get the project and then complete it,
We'll have to see if it's eligible for that,
okay.
but
Or-
I
or-
can look at that too.
Or a business oriented grant, I mean, you don't want people without water up there. I'm just trying to think if there's other,
Other grant money.
if there's other, you know, ways to do it. But
We
we could for sure do it this way, but I'm just wondering if there's other funds out there. Okay, Roxy?
I agree with all those. I'd also like us to think about, we've got some wastewater, stormwater problems north of town that I think the city needs to look into. Don't know how much those would cost to fix, but if it's, I think we need to know.
Yeah, haven't even talked about stormwater
That's,
problems.
that affects a lot of people down the street too, by the way. Cause there's no stormwater, I don't know, I mean, it's just what, 3 blocks from Main Street and then there's nothing on up north, absolutely nothing,
You mean stormwater on Evans?
No. on Hill.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
Actually, you had a resident there, earlier referring to that.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
And
Okay.
I worked with her now.
what's her name came and visited too.
She has been in public works already.
Yeah.
Yes. A resident on Hill, a different resident on Hill who has a similar issue.
from the same problem.
Yeah,
My point.
and we do not have an estimate at this time for that, do we?
But that's not kind of what we're doing right now, is kind of get an idea of some things we want
Yeah.
to consider and if we need some kind of an idea.
Yeah, we should do
that 20 years from now.
Yeah, we should probably get into yours. Okay, Danny?
So is the Alston pump station is non-functional at this time? It's not being used?
I don't think it's ever functioned as it was designed, my personal opinion.
Is it being used?
Yes, we use it every day, so we run it on manual, and that's the way it's been since before my time here, and probably since the day it was constructed. I suspect it's never actually functioned. We can tweak it and get it running for a while, but it inevitably overflows, causes us issues, so we found the best way to do it is to manually operate it. So we physically go out, turn the pump on, and leave for 4 hours, time to turn the bulb on, go out, turn it back off, and then the system fills it, the reservoir's up on the hill fill it. So it has been running that way, and if you were going to pick projects, my thought about Alston is it has something to do with fire flow and a federal facility. So if you were gonna target funding, that one would seem like an easier one than Evans Street.
Yeah.
For outlet
Yeah.
funding, yeah.
And it has been working that way for probably 30 or 40 years, and probably will still do it for another 30 or 40 if you needed to.
Well, I know FCI should have a new ordinance soon, we can bring that up, say, you know,
Yeah.
maybe, can you help us get funding for this, for, fire? That's good to know, though.
Yeah.
And we have done some testing with Bolson as for fire flow, and it was less effective than we thought it would be. It actually pushes water back into the water treatment plant and floods it before it gets where we want fire flows to boost.
Yeah.
The engineer does not know that. I haven't talked to him yet. So I have a meeting with him on Thursday, I think. Team meeting. So there's some things we can discuss with him, but actually, yeah, there's been some employees, the gentleman that used to run that water plant for probably 20 years knew quite a bit about it as well. It was never high on his agenda to get repaired. So, and the FCI has their own reservoir and their own pumps and their own fire department in there. So.
Okay, is there anything on this list that somebody doesn't want? Liz?
The skate park doesn't seem that important to me, especially when we're talking about stormwater and water issues. And that's something that I thought that the Friends of the Parks and Rec were at one point or initially talking about raising funds for, so I don't think the city should really finance that personally.
No, but, yeah, and that, yeah, that's a good point, although I think there's only 2 people left in that group. And I
know.
think they need, some help, but I mean, that's, that was one of the ideas we had to add on here, but yeah, that's, makes sense, yeah.
Let me add something. I think what we should talk about too, we have a meeting that looks like coming up for the skate park on, I think, October 22nd. And so I think one of the things to flesh out is like the reality of that project, sure. But also if anything, it needs to be maintained.
Yeah.
And restored. And so that's something that we'll get the price for at the, if anything, right? Okay, so.
Well, can I add on to that?
Sure, go ahead.
The Parks and Rec built, what, 8, come on, help me here, horseshoe pits.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Sorry.
what is it called, the technical term for the, right sized, Olympic size or whatever it is. Horseshoe pits, hardly anyone uses them, and I envision that with the skate park. We need to find out how many kids are skating around here and would use it. Well, okay, maybe, but we thought we'd see a lot of people using the horseshoe pits, and I never have seen anyone use the horseshoe pits. So I think when you're talking about a city infrastructure and things that you need to do, I think we really need to focus on water, number one, stormwater issues, those type of things that really affect people. but don't get me wrong, I think kids need those outlets as well, but I don't think that should be our priority.
Well, that's one of the, if it is water, and I'm not sure about stormwater too, but I know with water, there are other opportunities and the things, you know, not all the things listed, but I know some of these with ARPA, it's like we already have the funds. There, it's not as restrictive, and that's what I was mentioning, is like if it can be funded with a grant, and it's not like this is gonna fall apart right now, then we might be able to get funding in a different way, whereas some of these, like sidewalks, there's usually not, you know, grants for, you know, other funding opportunities for sidewalks, but, right, Ian?
My son uses the skate park quite a bit, and he's professional. He is paid to, pardon me, let me point to him while I'm talking. My son uses the skate park, and he is actually a professional, he gets paid, he's a sponsored rider. And the reason why he says people don't use the skate park is because it's not safe in some places, and that it's not adequate for like what they want to do on it. And so people don't use it because it's kind of a hangout spot. Some people don't use it, but others do, clearly, and he does. And so, but I do think that as far as this discussion goes, the skate park seems like a much lower priority. And for instance, it says need a champion, email the group, which sounds like nobody cares about the skate park.
Well, friends of the Parks and Rec.
But and that's good, great, and I think maybe they need someone, maybe they do need someone to, you know, do this, because there are for instance, the Newburgh one was sponsored by Tony Hawk and designed by Tony Hawk, and people love it. They come from all over to go to that skate park. So it is potentially a very valuable thing in that way, but also we could potentially talk to Tony Hawk or whoever, I don't know.
Would, your son be interested in going to that meeting? I don't know, is it in the middle of the day?
I imagine it is, I can find out.
Is
And
it, 'cause I think,
I'll send Ian the invite.
okay, cause I think the
What-
meeting in the group needs more input from people who are actually gonna use it.
Yes, that's the real struggle, is like, people that are interested in helping with it don't know what they're designing or what they're trying to build. And so that's why it says it needs a champion, it needs some input from people who do ride skateboards. So I'll send that email to you about that group meeting. Yeah.
Wait, Roxy?
I'd like to, point out, I go to the park about once a week and have my lunch, and I kind of pay attention to who's using what and how many kids are there. It's usually Fridays, because that's when the kids are out of school, so you'd be surprised how many kids use the skate park. Some of them are running around, some of them are on bicycles, not all of them on skateboards, but it gets used, so. I know it might not be a priority for this, but, I want us to know that it is something we should consider in the future. I wanted us to, Mayor said that there are a lot of opportunities for, some grants for different parts of these projects, but I think the council needs to remind ourselves what our goals are, and to remember that maybe some of this money needs to be spent towards those goals that we don't have grants for, or we don't know what grants we're gonna get. That's hard to write a grant and know we're gonna get it, but now that we've got this money, I'd like to have us look at our goals and see if there are some of those things that we need to prioritize there too. I won't pick any one right now, but maybe another meeting.
One of these, projects, I mean, the 88 Brent Street, I mean, we've already, you know, got the go-ahead for that, and that's gonna happen. We could use, since that's a project that we already, you know, approved, that could be, we could give money to that, out of ARPA, since we've already approved it. I mean, that's about 150,000, we don't have to figure out where else to put it.
Yeah, otherwise that money would come out of the street fund, and
Right.
which is really a strapped.
Okay, yeah, someone else,
Um,
good.
And And I know we've spent a lot of money on parks this year because of grants. Not that I don't wanna spend money on parks, more money on parks, but we talked about the kitchen years ago and how horrible that is. And it's been years since I've used it, but way back 20 years ago, it was a nice place to use. It was simple, but it got used. I'm thinking that's part of the problem. It doesn't get used now is because it's in such sad condition. The whole building is. So that's another small project, I know. I also have the reader board on my list that we've talked about in the past, and we've never been able to actually get going. But that's another way to communicate with people that don't get emails, don't have a cell phone. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to get that messages out to our citizens.
And with the school reader board, most of that, I run it, but it's sports. And
Right.
if you driving by, you might miss something. If the city does want something on there related to the city, you might miss it because it's mostly sports going on.
And I think it's kind of small.
It is.
I mean, I was looking at something way bigger.
Yeah, no, I can only fit 4 lines of text on there.
Yeah,
It's frustrating. I have to
it is.
shrink.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Stop to read it.
If it's multiple pages, it's tough because by the time it gets to the second, third page, people are already gone.
And it's a school zone.
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay, well, we have a list, and I mean, it's not like we have a ton of time to think about it, but I think we should think about it, and then I don't know if we need to you know, figure out a way to kind of rank some of these ideas, or if somebody has a particular proposal for some of these, but one of the things we can think about is if we do want to just fund the Bridge Street ADA project with this ARPA money, then that's one less, you know, that's at least one project we've funded so far, but I don't know who was first, Jim or.
I don't know. Go ahead.
I would suggest that we lean towards maintaining our infrastructure so that we don't turn Sheridan into the biggest water market.
So like the Evans water line.
You should consider it heavily as being a priority.
That, and then we'll find out maybe the stormwater going on down on Hill.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything we can do with stormwater that's by Blair and Blair Loop, because I know when it does flood, that just sits. That's another thing. I know it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's like just sits. So, Jim.
I think if we have the money, everybody here probably says, let's do everything, but we don't have that. So we have to decide what's a need and what's a want. And I'm leaning with Ian in that without infrastructure, some of these things aren't gonna be working at all because there's gonna be other problems. I mean, like I said, especially would love to see the plaza back for being the plaza. That's a lot of money, but then, what happens after that? There's still a lot more that we haven't even, talked about. You talk about the, fire suppression system underneath and, lights and cameras. It's a bunch of money.
Underneath the park, kind of between
Underneath
just
the plaza.
Oh, at the plaza.
Yeah. Well, that and I believe that could come out of, you know, even the parks budget, because I know we Civil West, when they going out for bid for that project.
For the plaza?
Yeah.
They are still wrapping up with, the volunteer that's been working on that this whole time. But it's pretty much done and ready. We've all seen those, and so they can go out for them. And, I think they have an engineering estimate, but Kai's right. We have a meeting on Thursday with the engineers. So if you wanted to give us, some things that you want us to ask about, they can come up with an engineering estimate. And it seems like we're gonna have to have probably a meeting, you know, one day that just goes over just this stuff to have this allocated. And we can even have, Tim, the city engineer, join us too. For that meeting.
I have seen a draft of the water master plan. unfortunately, most of those projects are over 1.3, so.
Yeah.
But I think maybe look at the engineers for sure, the Evans line.
Okay.
And then,
I like that house.
well, they would probably engineer a stormwater situation on Hill, right?
The stormwater, yes, they would.
They would, okay.
And there's a stormwater master plan that we've talked about getting to do too. And I noticed when I was looking through all that stuff today, that there was master plans listed for parks that were funded, which before was a no-no for doing plans, but apparently it's allowed now. So we can also do that. I mean, nobody really likes plans, but the plan for the water map, for the stormwater it's incredibly large. I think it's like $250,000 or something. And so having that money allocated and having the engineers already work on it, that's doable by the end of the year. Does anybody remember?
Oh, have it allocated by the end of the year.
Yeah, to have it allocated toward the stormwater plan, and so I'll double check if somebody gets interested in having that one funded. But we also, I mean, we have our budgeted projects that I've been looking through too. Where is that?
And there- And in that master plan, some of them, it talks about, basically how critical, some of them there, we can, fund over time, and some of those will have to do with either funds from the water fund or from grants, things like that, but I don't know, I don't like the idea of a water line shifting. Yeah.
That's serious.
And those LED replacement lights, I mean, those 70,000 lights, like, those are incredible, but I think if we want lights at all, we can just, the real basic ones, and that's $5,000, that's not that bad.
So I think it would be interesting, cause I have heard first, accounts about the land shifting, but I'm interested to hear that Kai has never heard that, so I think we should flush that out a little bit more. So I think what should happen is we've gotten some feedback from the council, like infrastructure.
Yeah.
Seems important, the plaza seems important, and then the one question that I think there, and I really wanted to know from the council is, do you want to use, this money to do the 88 Bridge Street improvements that we, for downtown that we've already talked about? So do you wanna use that? Other than that, I think I'm starting to get some good feedback, and for this next conversation, Kai and I can go back to the engineers and say, help us, what's called value engineering essentially, is this is the budget, the kind of budget we're looking at, give us 4 or 5 projects, for stormwater and for, water.
And if we can, there's also, I mean, I was kind of thinking of having the basically that road survey done before I suggest, fixes on roads, but I don't know if that'll happen before December. But I know there's a couple real bad spots on Bridge, and that's, Main is an ODOT road, but Bridge is our road.
Yeah.
There's a couple spots on Bridge we could even fix, but,
North Bridge, right?
well, north and south.
And south. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But if the Evans project alone is 1.2, we're not gonna have much for roads.
You know what else needs to be done on South Bridge there was several things in the Safe Routes to School report that came up for like those flashing beacons. What are they called? They're called something flashing beacons, but they're really nice, bright, crosswalks for the schools. So between the high school and, Jefferson Street in that area, it was laid out, and those, that's back to nickel and diming though.
Mm-hmm. Unless you get it one big packages in, like.
Bridge Street is that and those.
And, those little, speed signs like they have if you're going out toward Yamhill and Carlton, they're on the road, like mounted onto a
The
pole.
slow down.
Yeah, well,
You're
yeah.
going this fast.
Yeah, it tells you your speed, they're solar.
Those were on that list too.
Yeah, because everybody talks about, there's only 2 speed trailers in Yamhill County that we could use. We have our own little, maybe that was a triple speed. Well, there's 3, one's broke, 2 they can use, but, yeah, but, if we had those, I know we need one on Sheridan Road, probably one on Main and a couple spots, but for sure, where there's school zones maybe, but.
Yeah.
I don't know, it would just be nice to get an estimate of that, I still think infrastructure first, but if we just had like a, I don't know, traffic section the proposed budget with a couple flashing lights and speed signs, that type of stuff. All right, anybody else? Heidi?
I do know, we get complaints, I'm sure you all do too, about the plaza though. So, and the plaza is supposed to be, the gem of downtown, right?
But
I know it's not directly infrastructure, but it is a critical piece of the downtown.
right, but we don't have a bid for what we want to do yet.
We have,
It's just the bid for the new decking.
no, we have an engineer's something, so I'll figure that out too.
Because I'm thinking
Cause I think it was,
the part where we basically connect it down to Morgan Street Park, like that will be nice. I mean, we're still gonna have a fence with decking.
Yeah.
But it would be,
well, cause we need to do the piers or the posts, whatever they're called underneath, and so I think we have prices for that.
okay, Ian?
Have you just mentioned what I was about to say, that this also includes the pier work, so that's a big.
Oh, that bid,
At least that's what it says here.
The
But-
350?
Yes, but another thing that we haven't thought about, which I also hadn't really thought about, I just had a gathering with Lindsay Burschauer and, our, county commissioner. And she was talking about the Hamptons and what they do and stuff, and I was thinking, yeah, are we buying decking for this? Like, has anybody called Steve and been like, hey, can we get some decking down here? What's up? What do we gotta do? So, I don't know, maybe that's an option too, is that we ask our commissioners to pull some strings with people that they know, or our friends in Wilmette.
I think that the volunteer is working on that.
Cool.
But there is only information that person or group or whatever is interested in helping the city of Sheridan as long as the investment doesn't float away down the river. So the city of Sheridan has to do its part first, which is the making sure that, we've done the pier work, right, and all of the erosion, the pilings, whatever, all of
Retaining wall.
all the retaining wall, all of that stuff has to be done before there's much more consideration for
Okay,
help.
so if it's reinforced, then we might be able to get the decking,
Yeah,
but
that's a maybe, that's up to lots of people, but.
probably the big part of the what if is the stabilizing it.
Yes,
So,
and I think that that's a very good use of the funds. I mean, that's a general fund project, and the general fund is one of the weakest funds between the street fund and the general fund. And that is, I mean, you guys, that's downtown, that's such a visible project. I'm glad I don't have to pick the projects, because that's very difficult to do, to pit these all against each other. This is no easy task.
right, Ian?
Isn't the plaza a park?
Mhm.
So, what did you say before that?
The park is funded by general fund dollars.
So, how come it's not funded by the park?
The park is general fund.
Oh, it is?
Yes,
Okay.
tax dollars pay for the parks.
Got it.
Most of
It's
our
a
general
department.
fund though goes toward
So,
police.
Towards police.
Okay, Liz?
So it sounds like we have three main priorities. So maybe if you two could put together some information about stormwater, water, the plaza, what was the other one? The pump station. Or, just give us a little bit more on infrastructure, just what it would cost to do some infrastructure improvements, what it would cost to do some plaza improvements. So we have something to work with in terms of deciding, prioritizing.
I think another thing we can look at, I guess we'd have to look at the ARPA rules, but we might be able to do some from our budget and some from ARPA.
Oh, yeah, for
So
sure.
instead of putting an entire 1.2 out of ARPA, it would be, some ARPA, some our money if we have it.
Yeah.
Roxy?
And we might add some grant funds that we might be able to get to into that mixture.
That's,
Talked about it.
that's tough because if we allocate it by the end of December of 24, I mean, we got 2 years to get a grant to fund the whole thing, but if we don't, then we lose it. But maybe our water fund could supplement, you know, like say Evans is 1.2 and we allocate 600,000 of ARPA.
Right.
I mean, we've got 2 years to find another 600,000, basically,
Which is a great idea.
which we
It
might be
would-
doable.
It might be something to get it going, the project going.
Okay, yeah, me and Heidi can do that.
Seems like a lot of money until you start thinking about all.
And we haven't even mentioned Sheridan Road.
Well, that's what originally it was for, but
Yeah,
I
the
know.
streets alone is 4 million and this won't do that.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know that it will be, we gotta look at other funding options for that.
But I think this gives Mayor, myself, and Kai some really good, starting places.
Yeah.
And I already see Kai over there with like a calculator, so.
And I'm trying to get,
He said himself.
Heidi, me and Kai, lined up with somebody, who might have a grant opportunity. Maybe Evans falls into that.
Yeah,
Maybe all our,
that's true.
maybe our entire water system falls into that. Cause they, I forget the exact organization, but basically Independence applied, and they got $4 million for their water system, and Independence was the only one from our region to apply. So, we're encouraged to apply too, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
What, was it a federal grant?
yeah, I can pull up the thing, but, I'm trying to get a meeting with them and Kai and Heidi and see like, okay, this is how much, this is what our master plan says, what do you think we should, ask for grant? Then,
And this is all revolving around the water master plan being complete, right?
yeah, and it's, I mean, it's not complete, but it's like draft number 4, but I've seen some numbers. I'm happy I'm seeing numbers,
We're gaining.
but I think it should be done probably, well, I don't wanna say that because I'd probably be wrong, but a month or 2.
Yes, how long is it gonna be done?
Yeah, but I think they're very close. Cause I'm able to see the numbers on the Excel sheet, so it's pretty close, I'm getting numbers.
Oh, here.
Or what, go ahead.
So I put 350 for the plaza stuff, because just for, this is just for, all the earthwork, right, sidewalk, the landing, the retaining wall, the culvert, all of that is 187,000. And what we've seen with these bids is that they're a little low when they come in. And so I was estimating very high because we also wanna do the decking, we wanna do lighting, we wanna do security.
So
we
the
wanna
actual
do-
cost would probably be
Yeah,
less.
and I think, yeah, it could be less, but it depends how big you wanna go. You know, benches and water lines for flower baskets and the list, I can spend $350,000 on the plaza.
I think if we got the basics, I think other people, I would
Be happy,
chip into with benches and stuff.
and I think people would be happy.
If you give them like, if we can create just the base of it, then I think, you know, cause, you know, $150,000 is hard to come up with, but if somebody wants to donate a bench or, you know, some of the flowers, they're smaller things. And the grant, I was talking about, it looks like it's through the Economic Development Administration of the U.S. Department of Commerce. So, it's a federal one, not a state one, so that's nice. Okay, so I think we have something to work on this. As we get closer to the deadline, we may have to have, a lot more meetings, just because I wanna get this spent, but, hopefully that doesn't happen. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, that's good feedback.
Moving on. Lost my agenda. Okay, moving on. So, fluoride in drinking water. The main thing I wanna talk about this is just, how we want to basically let the public know that this is something that might be done. Cause I don't wanna just do it and then everybody be, well, where'd the fluoride go, you know, cause some people may want it. I haven't heard from anyone, really one way or the other, and we put out that email address on there. I don't know if I have my phone number too, but I haven't heard from anybody, either way.
This isn't a vote? You don't have to put this to a vote to the public?
This is, currently right now, this is just a discussion, but no, as far as we know, no, this does not have to be a vote. Portland has voted on it several times, and I'm totally.
I know, and I just read in something that was given to us, Portland voted on it, they opposed it, but they still removed it. And I don't understand that.
From what I understand, Portland has never added it, and they continually, I don't know, Ian you might know the exact number. I think 3 or 4 times it's been on a ballot, and Portland has always voted no, so they've never added it.
Oh, I see, okay. I thought that it was there and they voted against it, but they didn't change it, okay.
Sorry, Ian?
Portland tries to keep its water, unadulterated from the source, so they tap right out of different sources, but like we do. But it's interesting, their theory on it is different. Yeah, it's a lot of fresh water. I think that one of the things that I was confused about is seeing this show up as a discussion, because I, amongst others, had thought that we were gonna be voting on this at this meeting. When I saw it here, I prepared what Lucy gave out, and I made copies and put them into these booklets for you folks to look at.
Thank you.
This is what Lucy provided me, the cover page is for myself, which I'd be happy to explain. I was going to try to print out something before I came here, but I had a busy day. Lucy was very helpful at providing some other things. And there was also a paper that was handed out, and it's not necessarily some sort of trusted news source or anything, it's just a Twitter post. But what it does is it outlines the things that I wanted to talk about at the top, which is a development from the last time that we spoke about it. There has been a development in a federal case. So if you guys wanted to talk about it, we could do that, or do it however you like. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I think we're still, Tyler's still gonna give us an ordinance to vote on. But between now and then, I just wanted to make sure that we give the public enough notice that we're gonna be changing something in the drinking water. Just because I don't want that to be a surprise. And also, if we want the ordinance to just say that we're gonna be removing it, or if it's gonna be an ordinance that says we want people to vote on it, like at an election, or if we just wanna remove it, I think what we settled on was just us making that decision, I think is what we, trying to remember exactly what we decided.
That we would make the decision as a council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, and Tyler's, I know he'll be back in a week or two. I know he's working on that ordinance. But yeah, for me, this was just a discussion topic on the best way basically to inform the public of what we might be doing. Liz?
So we have the town hall, I know it's in, 3 days?
Yeah.
But we could put together quickly a fact sheet. And
Yeah.
give them the pros and cons of it, and at least get people thinking about it, so they can just take it home with them, read it, and it gives them the information that we're considering taking fluoride out of the water, and here's the reasons. Because basically it's poisonous for kids, but, but give them their information, enough information that they can make informed decisions about it too, and then I think that we need to let them know that it's gonna be on the agenda at such and such meetings, so people can come to the meeting and voice their opinions as well.
Well, I believe it stated people had a chance to come and give public comment regarding it at this meeting.
Oh, really?
And no one's here for that, but there's also one for the meeting in 2 weeks. So people might show up next October meeting regarding fluoride too. And then I know my email's on there. I don't know if my phone number's on there too. I haven't heard anything. But yeah, the town hall's a great opportunity. I'm gonna mention that.
A one-page fact sheet.
Yeah,
Here's the advantages of taking it out of the water, here's the disadvantages, if there are any. Ian, do you mind if I ask you to put that together, since you've been putting all this stuff together? Could you condense some of the more pertinent facts together that we can hand out?
Well, I think you start.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, is there any way to condense the most important things and put it together? So it's
I mean,
just
you
one
could-
page to hand out to people.
I mean, you could just have that cover letter. I don't know what you think. I mean, you wrote it, but if that's appropriate.
Things have changed since I wrote that yesterday, so.
That's
Oh,
what I
okay.
mean, I mean, I just read this, and this is quite a big change, and it's EPA talking about it, so I think that the public needs to know these facts, and then if we give them at least a fact sheet, and this is why we're considering removing it from the water, they would have more information.
Yeah, and the city table's gonna have a bunch of stuff. But yeah, that'll be part of it, and I'll talk about it in the state of the city. Just talking that's an update from the city is that we're considering moving it. I'm sorry, Lizzie. Let's talk to
I'm
Lizzie.
gonna attempt to talk. So, I think too, Ian, if there was just some bullet points, and because I always thought before I was informed that, fluoride was okay, but once you start to get and I put the shocking bullet points on there, and I would use, when you do it, I would incorporate color, because color gets people's attention more than just looking at this. It's kind of boring. You'll look at this, but you won't look at that. I'm not saying, but you're catching my drift. And it'd be real nice, and I don't know if this is possible, but I think if this one-page flyer, very easy reading, was able to be distributed at the schools, so those parents of those children knew what they were drinking, they'd be showing up and coming and calling and doing a lot more than just thinking, because even I was ignorant to it, because I remember kind of when they put it in there and it was like, oh, it just helps you so you don't have to brush your teeth as much. I mean, that was kind of the, and there's a whole different conception of that people have not been made aware of, but I think that they should. And I think that they themselves would decide and make it easier for the council to make that decision. But you need to get it to the parents, and I think the school is a great resource for doing that. I mean, just hand it out in each classroom before the kids leave to go home. Take that home to your parents. I mean, half of them probably won't do it anyway, but some of them might.
Yeah, don't ask me about that. I can't make that.
I don't think
You
your kids will, won't they? No.
You can ask someone else that works at the school, but I can't make that kind of decision, but I understand what you mean though.
Conflict of interest.
No, I just don't have that, I just work there, I'm not in charge.
So here's what I'd like to, I guess, say before we make any decisions about lists and stuff, is that this happened on September 26th, which is a federal judge in California court, made this decision about telling that he believes that fluoride is harmful. And since this decision has come out, there has been Abilene, Texas, Yorktown, Summers, and Abilene, Texas has removed fluoride from the water immediately. So once they read this, so this is something that city councils are just doing in cities much larger than ours. And then informing the citizens afterwards about the dangers of fluoride or the reasons why they made those decisions. So I'd like to see us make a decision as a council to protect the people of this city adequately. And I do think that the things that you talked about are very important, that we get out the information and say, this is what we're removing because we're trying to help protect you. And here's other resources in which you can get what you need, topical applications of sodium chloride.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
that's what I was
You're
gonna say.
right,
It begs the question, what are we gonna offer in its place? Because young ones still need the enamel protected on their teeth. So do we like when I was in school, we swished with fluoride and spit it out. And so you've still got that protection for your teeth. what will we do in its place, or what will we suggest in its place for the young children that need that enamel protection?
Ian,
But I don't
Yeah,
think
that's-
parents can afford the tablets or the
Lots of-
fluoride.
Lots of dentist offices offer free toothpaste to people in need, as well as our food bank offers those sorts of things. And
Okay.
other services offer many items that are fluoridated if you wish to have that added to your diet. And for people that can afford it, you can purchase fluoridated tablets if you'd like to drink it.
Okay. If there's resources, that's good. So we would list those resources, or you?
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
right, Jim?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, is that most toothpastes, you know, like with fluoride, I mean, almost every one you see. And, I assume it's you told us there was two types, the one that's kind of poisonous and the one that is, you know, very usable. And so that would be what I would think would be the replacement for having it in water. If you brush your teeth, you're getting fluoride. And the good stuff, not the stuff that can cause mental damage, et cetera.
Lower IQ.
Great, Heidi, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you're looking for opposite thought information, in your packet, the state gave you information. And so those could also go out to the public, but it looks like the state, and this is not as recent, of course, as this court case that
Yeah.
Councilor Houston's talking about, but Washington State has has notification that's required so that people can get their alternative, know what the alternatives are. Because it says right here, like rinsing, e.g., they may consider fluoride tablets for rinsing kids. So I don't know, I haven't clicked on this link to see what they do there. But if you're looking for that information of how people can get it otherwise, I think that the state of Washington has a process for notification of people. But anyways, that was there. But as far as the city is concerned, the city staff, we in general have no opinion, and we would like to not have this at our table, but instead it can be at your table since it's a policy decision. And so,
That makes sense, guys.
so we'll keep it over there. And then as far as it being, like if people had to vote on it, it's not in the charter, just in the municipal code, so no need for voting.
No need for a vote of the people.
Good.
I mean, I do like letting people vote on things, but this, I think we can make that decision.
I think we're making the wise decision for the safety of children and
Look at
pregnant women.
Looking at that graph though, it is interesting that the color differences. It looks like besides Nevada, the whole Northwest is, under 50% of the CWS, which I assume is communal water services. Maybe? I don't know what that abbreviation stands for. Okay, Ian?
Just to speak to the removal of it and notice and everything, I will point out that 98% of Europe has never fluoridated their water ever. So stopping the fluoridation of the water is not necessarily going to create some sort of bad thing. However, if people are relying on that for their fluoride, the topical portion of it, then they may need to understand that portion of it. And I really don't think people are relying on it. And, fluoride does not prevent cavities. It can strengthen enamel, and does strengthen enamel in developing children. And so that is a good topical application of it. However, consuming it is not even recommended, even on the toothpaste tubes themselves. So I just think that we should probably move forward here and say, well, this is something that is now a matter of public record through the federal courts even, that we don't really need this. Let's move on from this history.
Well, there is a period of time between now and when we'll be able to vote on that ordinance. I think probably first meeting in November, we can probably be able to vote on it.
Yeah, because Tyler gets back October 21st, so then he'll need to have a couple of days to prepare it, and so Ian is the calendar holder, he doesn't know if that season. So whatever the first meeting of November is, so Ian.
Probably November.
Keller, show us November, will you?
It's November 4th.
Yeah, so
We have to have our packet,
Ian, go back downtown.
we have to have our packet ready for that meeting,
Like the 30th, so that's probably doable for that time period. And then, of course, it goes into the ordinance reading, which requires a couple of readings and stuff, which also helps, to notify the public. I mean, whether or not you pros, cons, right? The public does want to know what's in their drinking water.
Probably make Tyler.
The
We're
use and
warning.
tradition.
Yeah, we'll have time between now and then, I mean, we might even be able to kind of condense the bullet points and put it in the water bills, because there might be at least one.
Yeah.
Running between now and then, as well, because I don't know if we need to do another kind of mailer, but, I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but, I mean, I know with those mailers, we were able to put a lot of info in there.
Yeah, those big ones.
Yeah.
Did everybody get it in their mailbox?
Yes.
But, yeah, I just wanted to, you know, bring that up and make sure that we're getting the word out, so. Okay, Jim?
You know, public doesn't need to know, that's important, that we keep talking like, oh, well, I thought the decision was already made, we're just waiting for the ordinance.
Yeah.
And we'll have to talk on here around the table, well, if we do this, we already decided, we just want an ordinance and we're waiting for Tyler.
Right, but we decided to get an ordinance, and, I mean, we're probably,
Well,
well, I can't say for me, because I don't
You
know
want the
time, but-
wording to be correct, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Decision was already made, we voted to get rid of the fluoride.
Well,
Voted to have Tyler put together an ordinance.
yeah, and then voting on that ordinance will remove the fluoride. So in a way, yes, but not, it hasn't been quite done yet, but,
Oh,
yeah.
I get that. That's good.
Yeah,
To change a code, you have to have.
yeah, Lucy?
So if you were just to vote on it tonight, because we're not gonna put out a lingo out anyway, and Tyler's already working on it, if we voted on it tonight, I mean, it would still take that process, it's just that we know it's in the works and it's gonna come, is that kind of what you're thinking, Jim?
Well, just-
We already voted to do
We
it, so
made a
just,
decision on an ordinance to make it official,
yes.
and we're waiting for the ordinance, but we've already made a decision.
So just, can I step in? So I don't think there needs to be any vote. I think this is just a discussion tonight about notification of our citizens. So the vote will come when the ordinance is presented to the council. And at that point, we can talk about whether there's a mailer or some other notification to citizens at that time.
That's been removed. Like, right now, it's just like, I mean, because I guess, once we get the ordinance in front of us, we could say, well, maybe not, we've heard enough feedback from people that say, keep it, I don't know, that may happen, I don't know. But at that point, then we would, you know, we would still have to say, you know, yay or nay on the ordinance, and then that would be basically the final, and then just stop putting it in. But, yeah, I believe I've been right, yeah, we did vote, the council voted to remove it, and then we just need an ordinance to make it, so.
Is it possible to just repeal this ordinance that exists already? Okay,
I don't think so.
okay, thank you.
It's because the language for the code says you will. And so outside of that, we can't change any part of the code just willy-nilly without any sort of ordinance, a formal process, so.
Okay,
So that's,
anything else, otherwise we can
that's
move
as
on.
quick as it can move.
Okay, right, next up, upcoming events. A bunch of, oops, sorry. No, it lists, trunk or treat on here, and then that's in the high school parking lot. And I know haunted halls is also happening within the high school.
Haunted homes.
Yeah, is that what they call it?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe Chamber, puts that on, and, well,
And Kim Green.
okay.
Kim puts it on, but
Kim Green.
are they gonna be, are they gonna be happening at the same time, the trunk or treat and the high school halls?
From what I understand, yes.
So the halls are for the little ones and the trunk or treat, well, no.
No, both.
It's
Everything's
all
for everybody.
For everybody. So
It's
there's
just an
not-
opportunity to get a lot of candy in the parking lot. inside.
It's a trifecta.
But,
Yeah,
but
there
the
you go.
trunk or treat is for volunteers to hand out candy from their,
I think they're
Right.
asking volunteers to do that, yeah,
okay.
because they need volunteers.
Cause I always volunteer inside the high school handing out candy, and I think it's the Rotary or whoever buys the candy, one of the groups buys the candy, but I was wondering who was providing the candy for the trucks.
I know Kim has bought a lot.
I
As I know Chamber has a budget for it, and donations.
A lot of donations.
I know last year it was like $900 worth of candy, it was gone in a half hour, seriously, it was so bad.
Jim, I think Yvonne knows, can she?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so in 2020, during the pandemic, the city of Sheridan, we hosted the trunk or treat, and we had it like incredibly organized where people had to register. We did placards for their vehicles. Part of their registration is that they're agreeing to supply, they purchase the candy, but people are typically very excited to do this, decorating their trunk and doing all of that. It was a big deal for them, and we probably had, I'd say 2,500 people at that trunk or treat, and it was done in like 45 minutes. It literally, it was such a huge thing because nobody was doing anything. I was terrified that we were creating our own super spreader, but it was fun, as far as I know. But so we started wanting to do maybe an alternating thing with the city of Willamina, and then it kind of fizzled out because we had, lots of change going on. So staff decided that we were thinking it would be fun to do this again. It's not a huge outlay of city money, but it's a great way to get community involved, and we thought doing it's in the same location as it was the first time we hosted it, and in conjunction with those hallways, and let more people who really like the outdoor piece of it and the decorating play a part.
That way people, Willamina, I believe, is still doing their own thing, but I know some people, they would go to Willamina and then they would come back here to go to one of the halls or.
And they go to the churches, and they hit all the places.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. There's a whole map of places to go.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim.
Yeah, for sure, you're asking who, the Rotary is listed as part of the partnership, and they're big on that, they're gonna buy a bunch of candy. But not eat it themselves, they're gonna pass it out to the kids.
Try not to.
Unless it's chocolate.
Maybe they can pass out some fluoride tests.
All right,
I just wanted to add that Angela showed me too, that it's only like $15 to buy a kit for your trunk. So it's another way for people to participate, and they don't have to like get up and down to answer the door, or not know how many people they're gonna get if they still wanna participate. Less and less families are going door to door anymore to trick or treat. So
Kay's getting the sign ready at our house, yeah, he'll be there, in costume.
at the door, yeah.
I love.
So, Mayor, the reason why I really put this on here too, so Angela did the trunk or treat, and then she is thinking about putting together a turkey trot, which sounds like a lot of fun to celebrate the Southside Park. But I did want to spend time with the council on the town hall part of this, since it's on Thursday. So the city council will have their own table area, or tables, I think we're decided, multiple tables in the high school cafeteria. How many of you are going to be able to be there? So we know we have, is it everybody? Okay, so McElroy, are you going?
I'm sorry.
Are you going to the town hall?
Yes.
To visit with people? So
I think everybody.
Yes, I put it on the website.
Okay, good. And so then the other thing is do you wanna talk, so Mayor has asked me to get together some of his mayor surveys that went out. And so those will be on the table. We're gonna have these on the table, I think, or our table and your table. And lots of city staff is going. We're gonna be, I think it sounded like we got a larger turnout than we could ever have asked for. So we're cram packing that cafeteria with all kinds of tabletops. It's gonna be amazing. And we were able to get the taco truck that's outside of Forest River. They're gonna be down there, and then Liz found a maker.
He can't.
No.
He just told me,
So
sorry.
we have the taco truck.
Yeah.
And Cale gave me a few other things to put on your tabletop for you guys. And I was just gonna do some like general comment cards, like, print them off on some cardstock of yellow or something, and people can leave them up there for you. Mayor is gonna be doing his State of the City address, and then Sencor is gonna give a little information about the industrial lands project that they've been working on. But what else do you want staff to prepare for your table?
For council table?
Yes, for your council table.
Well,
From a map, that's a great idea.
Map of the city.
well, Cale and I have been working, we're gonna put together a,
You gonna get the list? Okay.
what's it called, what did I
It's
say?
like a poster board type of thing.
Tri-board, yeah, with picture, with photos
Oh,
of,
I saw that email.
yeah, of improvements, city improvements, so we'll have that as a visual, but are you asking like handouts or?
Yeah, what do you want me to,
Anything.
what can we set up for you? Maps is a good thing. Do you want me to put together like a calendar, a little calendar that has all the council events for 2024, 2025, or what do you
I
guys
don't know
want?
if we have, do we have any, I mean, it's like first and
It's just
third,
like,
first and third Monday.
you know, we could put together just even a little card that said that. and you can
What
give it to
about voter
people.
registration, is it too late to register to vote?
It
Do
is
we-
for this election, but
for
it's
this
never
election?
too late to register.
You can read, to be, to qualify for this one, it sounds like, yeah, it's too late, but we could still, I mean, we could still have them.
If
if
you
we
want
want.
to have voter registration.
You say you can't vote in this one, but you can in the next one.
Actually,
Well, are
they
the
might have
council
some.
people, are the people running for council, or do you plan on being there and introducing yourself?
It's very clear that our participants do not want this to be like a platform event. We've had some of that feedback, that some of the places, so that's the candidate forum that's happening
Tomorrow.
tomorrow. And so, of course, candidates are welcome to be there, but it's been clear that we've had people that say, I don't wanna participate because I don't want,
Political.
affiliation or anything. Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
I can help you to find them if you'd like.
Okay.
Okay.
This was supposed to be a homeless town hall, by the way. A homeless task force. If we're gonna actually be honest about what it was about, you can include that so people can be happy. Just saying.
I haven't had that feedback, so.
You know, that's what the whole thing was supposed to be, and then it turned into whatever the science fair, whatever this is.
Volunteer science fair.
Yeah, sure. All of a sudden.
Well,
Okay.
okay, Ian.
Task force a whole year. Here we are.
When the task force discussion happened, there was a discussion about the town hall meeting some time ago in this room, and there was not, I think most of us weren't here, actually. But I was here, and I don't remember who else from the council was here, maybe Lucy. But I wanted to, what I said there was that I thought that it was very important that the heart of this town hall was something that the council approved funding for, specifically to hear about the task force's findings. And the council voted for and approved that money for that meeting. And then the task force ceased to exist. And technically, I guess we could say that that vote no longer exists. However, the town hall continued to go forward without that. And I said at that meeting, and then at the next actual council meeting about it, I talked about how the citizens of this town have asked for, made it very clear that they want a final report, and they want it, they want a town hall about it, and that there needed to be some sort of presentation and answer and question and answer period for that at the town hall, because that's what we had asked for.
Yeah, I remember after we talked about that, you and I talked about kind of how that would work and how that would look like. And I think kind of what we talked about was, talking about this final report. And whether that's, giving information, which will be there, me talking about it at the town hall, which I will. And then the opportunity for people to ask questions about it, which that's why we have a table, because people can ask about anything. And then at the end, if people want to stay, they can, in a public comment style, just ask us questions in front of everybody if anybody's.
Provoking
Still hang
Hope
out,
will be
but-
there, right?
Okay, great. It sounds like you're doing exactly what we talked about.
That's one of the
Sorry if
things.
that's not clear.
Yeah, that was one of the things on his list to have printed, was copies of the task force report too, at your table.
Okay,
Oh,
so
good.
you'll answer questions about the task force.
The best as I can, yeah, I know it was, well, the whole council was, part of that with the whole task force, but, it was, you know, once I kind of transitioned to mayor, that was not something that I was really, interested in pursuing. I know the public did spend money on it and we wanted to continue it, but then once that, you know, that final meeting happened, it was kind of like, okay, I wanted to continue, but we do need to have basically kind of like a period at the end of this is to follow it up and end it. That wasn't something as mayor that I wanted to, continue, but, you are right, though, we do need to kind of basically, you know, put a pin in it, basically put a period in it and end it. And then going forward, you know, if people want to discuss it or open it back up again, I have a feeling the council kind of doesn't want to open the task force again, but that could be something talked about in the future, I suppose, but yeah.
As Tyler loves to say, I'm a stickler for the rules, and so we've made those decisions, and we like to see it carried out.
Yeah.
And so that's all, that's all that I'm trying to say, is that we would like to see that task force seen through. I think, or at least that's the decision that I thought, so.
Yeah, and then, and the original town hall idea kind of shifted because it was, I know it was gonna be like, basically what are we gonna do, and then it kind of just ended, and it had a provider, I don't know if that was exactly the reason it ended, it sounds like that's part of the reason, but, and then after that, it was kind of just sitting there, and then, but I know originally, the council did want a town hall to kind of say, okay, what do we want, and then it just kind of ended, but it does make sense, so that's why I wanted to kind of shift it, instead of having about the task force, which kind of already ended, you know, create a different style of event, but still talk about the task force and still have that be there. But Liz?
So will you be handing out Nick's final report? Cause that was a nice report, the final one we got at council.
Yeah, it'll be on our table.
On our table.
Well, my plan was to have it on our table, but if you think I should hand it out to everybody that comes in the door.
Oh, no, just available for
Okay.
people that
Yeah,
are interested.
It'll be on our table, yeah.
Okay, good, good, 'cause that was a
Okay,
good
get it.
report.
Okay. So, yeah, in the town hall, it says set up at 5:30, it'll probably mostly be set up by some of the staff there or whatever, but, I'm also trying to think if I should, I think we had 33 RSVPs, I don't know if I'll have time to go around to each person and say, introduce yourself, unless I give them like 15 seconds, but I can try and.
35?
33, I can try and, okay, well, I can try and, kind of summarize who does what, I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on the best way to give everybody a heads up on who does what, or.
Maybe just we open it up for people that wanna come up and say something. Most people will be more
Maybe.
comfortable right at their table.
If I say 15 seconds, 'cause otherwise it'll be like, I don't know, I don't know how long.
Their table should indicate who they are.
That's what I'm hoping,
Yeah,
is that it should be, and I'm gonna encourage, even if their table doesn't look super inviting, go talk to them, just because that might be who you actually wanna go volunteer with, so,
Yeah, we have created a table layout with, it's like a brochure essentially, so it has the tables, the numbers of the tables with the name of the organization and their mission statement. So people are gonna be handed that when they come in.
nice.
So I think that helps, that piece of that.
So they don't have to introduce themselves. If they're mission statement.
Okay. So there's nothing more on that. We can move on to the second public comment period. Does anybody have anything else on that? No. Okay. All right. Second public comment period. Yvonne, do you have anything?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right. Moving on then. Mayor and council discussion. I met with a couple. Can't remember if I already talked about it. I went to the Hyder building with somebody. Went to realtors to look at it. I'm gonna go with somebody Wednesday to look at the Huntley, with the realtor. And then somebody contacted me today who was somewhat interested in the Hyder. So I put them in contact with the realtor, so hopefully somebody buys it. The Hyder is gonna go to auction if they don't get an offer, which that could be good, that could be bad. It just depends on who buys it and auctions it. And if they're across the country, I don't know, maybe they have the funds to, fix it up, or maybe they're just, it's gonna stay, I don't know. But
So when does it go to auction?
I believe it's November, it's either November 4th through the 6th, or November 6th through the 8th. It's open for a couple days.
4th through the 6th.
4th through the 6th, okay, yeah. But that's just the Hyder, the Huntley is not going to auction. So, for stuff.
And I believe the base is 480,000.
Oh, the base bid for Hyder, okay. I've heard different numbers, up and down than that, so that's good to know though, that's what they've said.
And actually, can I say something? I think they paid a little bit less than that for it, but if you think about it, they've done all that infrastructure with the metal poles and everything, so they've really done a lot of work to it. Now what you gotta just finish is the rest of the interior, and also revitalization. I believe they told me that their $200,000 grant could be, or would be, I couldn't make it to that meeting because I wasn't feeling good, but that $200,000 grant may be transferable over to the new owner fitting that criteria of that grant.
Yeah, as
So
far as,
that's kind of an extra bonus for somebody who buys the building.
yeah, as far as I know, yes, it's transferable, which is good, although they're gonna have to deal with floodplain stuff on the bottom floors. That'll be extra expense for them, for whoever buys it. And yeah, anybody have anything?
Yeah.
You wanna, Lizzie?
Mine's short.
No, go ahead.
So we were talking about the recycling center at the end of Sheridan Road and how you were gonna have to close it up because people were not paying attention to the rules. And I heard a little bit of this and a little bit of that, so I'm just gonna say, you know, why don't we do a trial run and put a sign out there that says anybody caught doing anything illegal will be a $500 fine? And not pussyfoot around with $10 or $50, and I'm gonna go talk to you at your house and you're gonna slam the door on me. But, I mean, literally back in the day, before it was ever an issue in Oregon, there was a $100 or $500 fine, because I remember hearing my mom and dad complain about it. And if we put a big fine on them, and they think it's funny, well, that's a $500 fine to do it again. And get the cameras, because I think that's a real disadvantage to the people who pay attention to the rules and enjoy that service that the city's provided, just because some idiots are out there trying to push their luck, and they need to be stopped in the community. I was even thinking maybe, but I don't know if we need to go there yet. If somebody sees something, do something illegal, that the city could give them a little reward if they turned them in and had a, you know, upon conviction, a positive conviction, something's a lot smaller. And that the fine should be 500, but just, you know, hey, be a good community servant and turn those guys in.
We are doing so much of that. We already have the reward system. It talks about it out there for that. And Tyler and Angela are working on strengthening the city's litter ordinance and what that looks like. And then Kai, do you want to tell them about the recycle station, how you have it running now?
That was
Good
out there
news.
today.
This is good news.
And I got, when I saw the junk that they're leaving out there too, that it's not on the list. Go ahead, Kai.
Yeah, we did have an incident over the last weekend that took Public Works several hours to clean up. We're currently running it 7 days a week, 7 to 7. And the gate timer is set up for that. There is a large 42 by 72 inch sign out there telling you the hours. And another sign telling you that the gate will lock you in at 7:30. So somebody was locked in tonight.
Someone was locked in.
That's why you stepped away.
So, you know, eventually, we were aware when we put those times there that we would occasionally lock people in. So eventually we're gonna budget for a magnetic loop. It's like when you pull up to a stoplight, it knows, it feels the magnetic presence of your car and it changes. You could do that to let people out. So, yeah, so that's the plan for that, but it still did get torn up over the weekend, unfortunately. But, you know, it's great service for the community, so.
It is. We used to have to go to Mac, so I don't know why people are abusing it.
It's dark, it's 7:45.
All right, Denny?
Was there something going on with ecology on this? Is that still in the works?
Yeah, we have to wait to see if they get their, I don't know if it's a grant or how that works.
Yeah.
But we won't know until January.
Okay. Still in the works.
Fingers crossed. If you ever see somebody from ecology, maybe tell them you're in support of them opening their recycle station in Sheridan. Their staffed one.
Also, it would be staffed.
Yes,
My ecology.
yes, by ecology, and then there would be lots of other recycle opportunities as well.
So, wait, I have a question for Kai. Kai, will the public works, we hand out the rules for the recycling center at your table?
Oh,
That's a great idea.
Because I think some people, I've seen online, some people don't even know where it's located, so we need the location and what is acceptable and what is not acceptable.
Yeah, we'll do that, absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Can we get out of here at 9:30?
3 minutes.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back, a couple things I pointed out at the last meeting, you said you'd get back, you had answers, I know you've been busy, so I just wanted to see if you found out, like,
Is that one of them Sheridan Road?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, anyway, the charge, for maintenance and repairs in City Hall, when they were actually supposed to be charged for, custodial services in the library. And the, supplies for prep for seal coating streets was, billed to sewer and water, but not the street fund. And then one of the biggies that I really want to know about is, are we really paying $7.31 per gallon for unleaded gas?
Oh, yeah. I love to that one too. Okay, I'll write to it. I'll revisit those mistakes. Okay.
I think that's,
The answer's no to that. Right?
I'd like to know what that real cost was. And I do have one last question. I got this email from you on the 19th of September about, any purchase that's more than $50 requires your authorization. What caused that? We've gone over that before with, limits, et cetera.
Yeah, the council and the public feedback.
That's it. At the minimum, back in the days prior to when we discussed it, you had at least $1,000 authorization. I don't know who else had what, but,
You raised a lot of questions and I looked into them and it's just a tighter way to do business. I think it helps to answer a lot of questions when they come up.
Right, Dean?
That was something I wanted to discuss too. I think the council needs to be brought up to speed on when you read the stuff we get in the packet, it's not like an invoice. We don't know, it says maintenance, truck maintenance or whatever, but it doesn't tell you what it does. And I have lots of invoices here that I'll share as soon as I get some more information of things that we probably wouldn't have went for if we would have actually known what it was going for. But the description we get is not a good description, so that's one thing. I have another one, we need to get bids in for removing the asbestos siding off of the Mill Street house. The next thing you know, it's gonna be no burn season again, and it won't get it done. So that needs to be done ASAP. I'd like to request that it takes council to do this. Where's my page here? I need to get some more invoices from the city, but I can't get them without council's approval, because it's gonna take more than a couple hours to get them. I've got several things, and I really appreciate that, but I need a few more. And so if council would agree to instruct Heidi to let me have these invoices that I'm gonna ask for, that'd be highly appreciated, because there's some stuff there that I think we don't know about.
Why?
Why? Because of spending that's happened. We don't know, we don't know who some vendors are and what work they did. One of the main ones I'd like to get is who's done all the mechanical work for the last 22, 23, and 24 on the fleet. I've got a lot of that, but I don't have And it's public record.
So it's invoices for mechanical work for 20, is it just that, or is there more than that? I'm just trying to think, like how specific the request, I guess. Does it have to
The
be?
invoices for mechanic shops that have done work for us, 22, 23, 24. I said, I verbally talked to John's Automotive here, who used to do work for the city, lots of it. And they haven't done anything since 2021. And I could go into more, but I'll go into that later.
Okay, okay, do you wanna make that request now and have the vote on it? Okay.
Yeah, or consensus, just so that, you know, I can get that.
Okay.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
What happens with that request then is it goes, to myself and.
Point of order, I think I was actually
Oh,
next.
sorry.
I'm a city councilor, so I'd like to say something first.
I mean, if you want to.
Yeah, thank you.
I think she was gonna clarify what Denny was saying, but if you wanna go first.
Aware.
Okay.
I think that let me rephrase that. The city council has voted to establish a work group to review employee spending and the spending limits. So I would argue here in the city council chambers that we have already authorized this information to be gathered for this specific purpose, of which Denny is a member of this work group, as is Roxy. And we're trying to establish this now, and this is the information we're gonna need anyway. So I'm not sure if any more approval is really needed. It doesn't seem like it to me, because we've already started on this road, so.
Alright, Liz?
I have a question for you. You guys are on the financial committee, right? And
Yes.
Jim?
No,
So-
Roxy.
Roxanne. So why are you going retroactive for this? Like, why are you going back to 22? Why are you questioning 22, 23? I mean, I can understand this year.
It will show a pattern of how money was spent. Without authorization from the council.
Okay, now,
Okay, so I was just gonna say, chapter 9 is where Jenny is getting this from the council rules of procedure. And what it says from there is that the information after it's received goes to the entire council. And so that's all I was
Once
gonna
we
say.
gather it all up, the whole council's
Yeah.
gotta get her, that's the point.
But, what happens is that it takes a little bit extra time because a lot of that stuff is from years prior. And so we have to go into the boxes essentially that are put away at the end of the fiscal year. And so with just a list of, or a term, especially when it says like mechanical, then we have to go back through the whole vendors thing too, like every single vendor, and determine if they're mechanical or not. I mean, if they're specific vendors, then those are much easier to pull out the folder for, because everything's organized in a vendor folder. So that's part of why it would take extra time. And I think we do need to, Councilor Houston brings up a good point. I think we need to make sure, because I'm part of the group two, the finance group. I have not heard the final date for that group, but I do want to make sure that we are having, like, I thought it was for spending a lot of amounts, and so I'm not sure that it was. I'm up for anything, and we need some rules, I guess, or some what we're doing with that group and how long what that group is after to achieve for the council. So like, what are you looking to report, right? And then, but we set aside the invoices after, they go through with all the stuff. And I have offered many times for the council to come and look at those as soon as those checks are signed. They sit there for a couple of periods before they're filed into their vendor thing. So those are always there for you guys to look at. This is public record. But it takes a little while when they're already filed in the boxes from the past years, so that's why we're here.
with the date of the committee, I mean, because if it's gonna, like Danny, like you said, it's gonna take a couple, a certain number of hours just for that. I wonder, because there's lots of things that the city spends money on, so I'm trying to, like,
mechanical work done on the fleet.
Right, I'm saying for this group though, you're gonna be looking at more than just mechanical work on the fleet.
Right.
So, and if that's gonna take a couple hours, like I'm wondering if there's like each meeting, if you guys wanna like focus on a certain.
We'll discuss that, I think, when we get into the meeting.
Yeah, okay, that was just a suggestion, just because.
No, it's good.
But during that, first meeting, I mean, I know council rules and procedure says, you know, we need to do this, but if it's gonna be for the meeting and the committee, then I don't know if we have to follow that specific guideline, or if it's just work that's gonna be used by the committee. I mean, then I don't know if we have to request it or not, you know what I mean? Like, if it's gonna be used for the committee, like, does it have to be requested?
Well,
Liz?
chapter 9 of our rules and procedures, which I have right here, on page 25 says that, basically it says questions from individual members of the council requiring significant time or resources from staff or professional services more than 1 hour, and this sounds like it would be way more than 1 hour, shall normally require approval of the council, which you're doing. For example, a request by an individual member of the council to locate several dozen old paper files or receipts may require multiple hours of the city clerk's time and must be approved by the council. So my question as a council person is, how many hours, I mean, this could take a lot of time away from staff.
It's not gonna take as much time as you think. They've already done a wonderful job for me. I just got a bunch of stuff tonight. And it took some time, then Tyler had to go through it. It took him some time. Now it's gonna take me some time where I can present it to the committee. And I just need some other information for the committee to present to the council.
I'm wondering though, what other materials, you know, the committee, and if they're gonna have to request them, like, they're gonna have to request everything, or if their committee, I don't know, because the committee's gonna need to look at a lot of different things, and I'm wondering if they need, I think they're gonna have to request it every time. I'm wondering if, you know, because these are, obviously, you know, these are the specific files, I'm wondering if
I
they.
guess the question that I would have, if I could interject, is right now, this seems to be, a request from Denny individually, and it might be a little premature, because from what I understand, this committee has not yet met. And so, I feel like that committee needs to meet and decide what they're gonna focus on before we have one or more counselors making a specific request. And so I think it is appropriate in this instance that if we're going to be doing this legwork with Denny, that he does get approval from the council, and maybe I would suggest that the council put a cap on time. And so we limit the scope from that standpoint, and then allow the committee to convene to decide what route they wanna take and exactly what they wanna see.
Okay. So is there a certain cap you wanna propose?
So I'd like to see all the invoices I'm requesting from 2022, 2033, or excuse me, 22, 23, 24. And it's only gonna go up, the ones I've got is only to June of 24. And that's fine, we can stop there.
From like now to June 24, or from
The invoices I have are from 2022
to June 20, okay.
to June of 2024.
Okay.
So I just want to get the rest of the mechanical shops that have done work on the fleet in that time frame. I've got quite a bit of stuff, it's a little piece I'm missing.
Okay.
So like from June until now?
No, the year 2022,
But you said you've got that right there.
not all the mechanical that I'm asking for. I've got a lot of stuff, but it's not any other, I don't know if any other mechanical shops have done work for us. I just requested one in particular shop.
Oh, okay.
Oh, actually two.
Eddie?
So Councilor McElroy also requested some other information, and so we did take a scan of that just in case anybody else on the council wanted to see it, since chapter 9 says that the councilors are privy to the information. So that is available. If you would like me to send that out to the entire council, just let me know. so we can do that in the morning. And then we can put together an estimate of the amount of time, but it will take some time because we have to seriously search through every vendor to see which ones are mechanical to determine if they are mechanical, because I think you're after vehicle mechanics.
Yes.
Yes.
Liz?
So it was my understanding one of the public works guys was a mechanic and he was working on vehicles too. So how are you going to ascertain that if he was working on some of the vehicles?
Well, I don't think we would get a bill from ourselves.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
So-
I'm not asking for that. I'm
Yeah.
asking for outside mechanical
Okay.
companies that have done work. I know one of our guys,
Okay,
and that's wonderful. The more you can do, the better it is.
all right.
So like invoices from other, because we wouldn't get invoiced by them.
Businesses.
So when we get public records requests from the public, one of the things that we ask them to do is to be, specific as they can, so that we can really narrow down what we're after. And I've done some of that work with Councilor McElroy already, because I have that similar question, like, are we looking for NAPA too? Like, are we talking about replacing a windshield wiper, right? And so he's not looking for that. He's made that clear, but that is also a part of what goes into this whole thing. So that's why I think it's good for us to follow the council rules of procedure. And when councilors do have requests for public records, I'm fine with, but we need to take them here first instead of me receiving them and then asking follow-up questions, you know what I mean? Because then it just keeps going. And so I want you guys to do the process, and then I'll be the receiver and the estimator of time and the doer.
So you haven't had a meeting yet?
Not for this particular committee,
When are you thinking about doing one?
and
I was gonna speak on this at on some level during, what the council concern discussion portion. So if you'd like to, I can start talking about that now, but it seems as if Denny has a question posed here that maybe we need to talk about further, but I could talk about it if you want.
Go ahead.
Okay, so with both work groups, no apparent, movement was being made on it. Yes, thank you. No apparent movement was being made on it, and I'd like to see these work groups, be carried out and the work to be done. And so I, sent out an email, to the rest of the council. I sent out an email to those, to the mayor and to Tyler and to Heidi and to the three of us, that were selected to be on these committees. And, I just, talked about the plan that I thought we could make to establish these groups. There was a short discussion on it, and I asked for input for other people to be recommended to be on these committees as well, preferably citizens from the community. So currently that's where we're at on those work groups. We have yet to move on to the next portion. I was giving adequate time for the councilors to respond with their thoughts on who to recommend as well. And so until, because I had not heard back from them, I thought I might mention it here tonight, and then maybe I'll hear something back. But and then when I do, I thought that I could, help try to form that first meeting with another email to the folks involved. So, that's the update with both of those groups. The other one was on the charter review.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Roxy?
I did get your email, and I did read a couple of the replies, and I thought that was going great as far as, people in the community and people in other groups, so thank you for that, and I'm hoping we can finish up those details and get started.
I didn't get your email. My city email doesn't really work, and I need to do something, and I'm not techno. You can't just tell me, oh, go do this, and I'll do it, because I'll just let it sit there dead. So for future reference, my city email does not work. I gave you my personal one tonight when I tried to give you this information, so I don't get anything, so I'm not snubbing you, I just don't get it.
I would advise to not have that be a part of, your city work, because if there is any sort of, legal issue, then your whole private email might be.
No, I didn't, I just wanted him to know I wasn't being rude, it just doesn't work.
I
I'm
just
not- I'm
think
not-
that if you can get that email to work with city staff, that's important.
That's why it's not working.
Alright, Ian?
Just due to the public meeting laws, I did not email, due to the public meeting laws, I specifically did not email yourself or Councilor Buckles or, Councilor Hodges, because of, that process. Even though we weren't really talking about anything yet, and we were just kind of forming the group, I thought we might try to fill the group out first, and then whoever the leader was chosen at that point would then say, we're moving forward, we've established, we made contact and we're moving. So I'm sorry that I should have updated something, before now, and said something, so, but yeah, that's where we're at. So.
Alright, well, do we wanna vote to give Denny the information he's requesting, or do we think that it's just part of the committee?
I'd like to give him the information. I hope that we do.
Okay, so we wanna make a motion to give Denny the requested information?
I'm confused, I thought, sorry, I don't know your name, but I thought the attorney suggested that you guys meet, focus what you wanna do with it.
I can clarify, I
Okay.
think that if, the council wants to, have city staff look through these requests for Denny, we need a vote tonight to do so. Or if you don't want to provide that authorization, then I think the committee needs to meet first and then decide which path they wanna take.
So council can vote now to give Denny this information, and then any more information would probably be determined by the committee as far as what is, being asked. Ian?
I make a motion that we provide the information that Denny has requested.
Second. Alright, first and second, any other discussion about it? Alright, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Will all councilors get the information?
Yes. Liz?
We need to amend the motion to add a cap on time, because I'm concerned about the staff's time.
So that would be up to the person who made the motion. If he doesn't wanna add a cap, he doesn't have to.
Okay. If he doesn't, I'm not, okay.
Ian?
I would say that there is somewhat of a cap because he's asked for a specific piece of information. And so that he's not asking for an open-ended release on grabbing. So I'm not sure exactly how much time this will take because no one's provided that information yet. So, but I think that sounds like a reasonable request for the mechanics, to hear from, what mechanics, or during that time, what mechanics we have. I don't even know what city vehicles we have.
I think Heidi and Yvonne can speak to the time that they've already spent.
So if you put an hour cap on there, get as much as you can done in an hour, and then your little group meets, and then figure out what you wanna do, and then extend it from there. That doesn't mean you can't get it, but you might get everything you need in a short amount of time, so just put a cap on it, and I think that would, just put a cap on it. You know what I'm trying to say? How long can it be to look it up if he's gotten this much? I don't know how much time that took. But to have a cap on it, then you guys can meet and say, this is what we found from, maybe you'll get it from 22 to all the way to June of 24. So now you're only missing 3 months, you know what I'm trying to say?
Mhm.
Versus if it took 10 hours, that wouldn't be a really good thing for city staff.
Ian?
It may not be a good thing for city staff, but I think that if we are doing this in the light of transparency for the citizenry, which I think is really what folks deserve. And I think that if a counselor has a passion to look into something, are we really gonna stand in the way of a volunteer who's looking at something that may or may not be important? I feel like we have to allow someone who's a city councilor to do look at the things that they'd like to look into. And
Well,
what he's asking for, is that support. to look into.
Yeah, I think Denny should get that, but we also need to think about the amount of taxpayer money that is going to city employees to do this type of work. If the council doesn't think it needs to be done, then that's why we have this discussion. But I think Denny should get this, but that is part of what this procedure is. If the council member asks something that's, if the rest of the council doesn't think it's necessary, then I guess that's what this procedure is for, but that's why we have it in place. Denny?
I would imagine Kai could help with this quite a bit, and Gary. They were both involved during these times. They would know who they used. I think that would cut a whole lot of hours out of searching the archives, because those two guys know.
Okay, well, if Ian doesn't want to put a cap on his motion, then that's his decision. Ian?
I am not necessarily opposed to that. I haven't heard any numbers other than 1 hour, so if,
What about 4 hours?
so
4 hours of staff time, is that too much? Too little? I think it's kind of in the ballpark of.
What's the time, sorry, can you call on her so she can give us a time frame?
Heidi, what is the time frame?
So, Councilor McElroy had a set of other documents, from, what was it, Lowe's, where else?
I got Lowe's right here. I just got them tonight.
And I think there was another place in there, was it just Lowe's?
It was a particular, another request you had, it was from a particular shop, right?
Yes, yes.
And, okay, yeah.
So that request took, I think, 3 hours of Stacy and 1 hour or 2 hours of Tyler.
Tyler, I don't think Tyler did the other ones. He did these.
Yeah, so it's involved, so there's been several requests, and we have started to learn that they do take time, and the further back we go, the more time it takes. So that's the concern, and we do try to work as hard as we can, because these requests, we just wanna get them done and over with, so that we can get back to their regular work. So we're not trying to draw it out and be annoying or anything, but it is just nice to have this guidance from the council about what your expectations are for meeting these.
All right, Ian?
I'd like to make a motion to amend my motion to add a 5-hour to the research on this particular subject and request that Councilor Keller has made.
Second. For just research, not gathering the material.
I'm sorry, for gathering and disseminating the information.
Second.
Point of clarification, if it's okay, does 5 hours mean any staff
For total.
or total? Exactly, like per person, just,
Let's say total.
sorry.
Ian?
I don't know the answer to that question, because are you saying that it took 5 hours to produce this information and give it to him
Probably.
from the whole staff?
Oh,
And
well, maybe, yes, but sorry, Counselor, typically when we do public records requests, this is the process. Is that the staff gets a form and we look at it, we make sure that we have all of the information we need to properly answer that. We give an evaluation, we give an estimate back to the person before they pick it all up. I mean, you've been involved with that process. And so then we give an estimate that it's gonna be this many hours. And so for me to give you an accurate estimate right now, I would need to go and talk to Stacy, Yvonne, Tyler, Kai, now Gary, and look at how many hours that is. So you can say what you want, and we can get as much work as we can done during that time, and then if it's not, we can turn over the documents, and if more is needed, we can come right back here.
Lucy?
Well, because isn't Tyler $180 an hour?
Something like that.
It's a lot of money.
Right, Ian?
I don't know, I don't feel like that really answers my question, as to say that it was collectively, there was 5 hours of work into producing this information, or there was 5 hours of work that was where, I don't know how many people were involved in that process, because if it was 5 hours of work for 2 people, that's different than 5 hours of work for everyone in City Hall. So,
Were you more involved in the process with the Lowe's request?
Not the one from the most recent one, but the one before that.
You were more involved in that one,
Mhm.
and how long did that one take?
That one took, I think, longer than
The
this
Lowe's
one
one,
did.
because the Lowe's one is specific.
Yeah.
So we haven't had the opportunity to talk about how long this is gonna require.
point of information, what I'm asking for is 5 hours, the 5 hours that took place already of work, was that 2 people? Was it 1 person? Was it 3 people? I wanna know how many people were involved in this process, please.
A minimum of 3.
Yeah, because it can be kind of a mix, because Stacy's new enough that for a lot of stuff, she'll have to come to me to figure out where things are located. We'll go through, it's like literally boxes, Ian. And some of them, because our old software, and Jim can attest to this, has very little information that we were able to fit into the comment line. So if it says maintenance, that's probably about all it fit in there. And so we would go in and just find maintenance. So it's a mixed bag of employees, but, so it's hard to say exactly how long. Did I spend 5 hours myself? I did not. But I probably was in mix for an hour and a half, and then Stacy would have had that chunk of, that whole chunk.
And then Tyler goes through it all, so I wasn't there to see how long it took him, but probably an hour.
Sounds like you bought on Stacy, Tyler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like collectively there was about 7 hours of labor there. So, I would make I would like to amend my motion. I would like to amend the amendment for the motion. To amend it to 7 work hours of people's time in the city to provide the information to Councilor McElroy, and then by extension us as well.
That's a day's work.
Second.
Okay. Another first and second. Any other discussion on this? Okay,
Wait,
go ahead.
so there's an hour time frame, but you come up with some hours, but in what time frame? In the next month, in the next 2 weeks, in the next week? I mean, the 7 hours is almost a day's work. So I don't think that's a very reasonable request of someone that actually has work to do throughout the day. So you mean within the next 2 weeks before your meeting, whenever it is, what?
Jim?
I agree that 7 hours is almost a day for 1 person.
Right.
We're talking about 4 people now. So how do you break that down? We're not talking taking 1 person out of the shop for a whole day. They might do, Yvonne, you might do 2 hours worth of something. Stacy might be 3 hours something. Kai and Gary might have to have an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. That would probably be where to start. What are we looking for company-wise, guys? What do you guys use? That's what the first question you'd ask, right? So yeah, there's
We
gonna
want
be a
to be
total of
able
7
to-
hours, but we're not gonna like pull Yvonne out for 7 hours for a whole day. That's not the intent. It's just to get the information.
I think it is fair to talk about what the time frame is. When do you want this produced?
It's not my motion. I feel like in the next, Danny, what do you think? Week, 2 weeks?
Yeah, a couple weeks, that's fine.
Okay, couple weeks. Okay, Ian?
I make a motion to amend the
I don't-
amendment of my amendment.
I don't think you have to if you're talking about the 2 week thing.
I'm just tired. So, did we add the 1 month time period to produce these records or to tell us that we've run out of the 7 hours?
Yes.
Okay, that needs a second.
Second.
Okay. Okay, first and second, feel like voting now, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay. Opposed? Okay, one opposed, Liz. Okay, so that passes. Okay. So that was that. Okay. Danny?
Got one more.
Okay.
So, in the middle of July, city equipment and the crew were seen mowing farmland at the west end of the lagoons that's leased by Anthony Leppin, who's Gary's brother-in-law. This whole lease land thing was a mess from the beginning. Anyway, city crew was over there. I didn't see it happen that day. I've been watching that land ever since the lease went in. It's never been farmed. It's just been left overgrown. There were, I believe, noxious weeds in there, but there was some, there was tansy, or not tansy, but I mean, the other yellow one we were just.
Goldenrod.
Thank you. And then there's blackberry bushes, and there was never a crop put in there. It was never farmed. So I just wonder why the city took it upon themselves to go mow somebody's leased land that the city owns, but somebody else leased it, so they have control of it. I don't know if Mr. Leppin was billed for that. I don't know who authorized to do it in the first place.
It's my fault. I told them that it was that I thought that the council said it was too dangerous to farm. Remember that discussion?
No.
You said it.
No, he leased the land anyway.
So it's my fault. I communicated back that.
I'm not buying this.
Okay.
It's crazy. That was never told to us that he wasn't gonna farm it.
Well, from what I understand, there's RFP for that land.
Pardon me?
An RFP for that land. I don't think he's leased. It's not, it needs to be rebid, for that land. It was a
So he
one-year-
turned it down?
From what I,
You're not letting me finish. I'd like to finish. Okay, so I remembered after that meeting that we had the discussion that it was too dangerous to farm. And so because you were worried about the dikes and the carving it, remember all of that stuff? And so I went back and told them that it was not available for farming. It's me. So we never took any money or anything for it. I made that mistake, counselor. And so what has happened since is that lease expired September 30th. And so this September 30th. And so had things not happened crazy last week, it's set to go back out to the public for bidding. It was for a 1 year.
I thought it was 3.
I don't think so.
The other lands are
It said
3.
One year when I looked, I can show you afterward.
I think
I'll email you the contract.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Because I believe the other farmer that's involved, Mr. Bryant,
His is
said he got
longer.
it 3 years.
Yes, he does, but Leppin was 1
And also on the 10 acres then at Orchard Street?
over there.
Yeah, over there.
Yes.
That's a 1 year?
Yes. You're
It was
done.
because you said that Bryant needed 3 years to grow a crop that really doesn't need 3 years.
Yeah.
But then again, I didn't vote for that, but I remember that because I talked to my farmer friend and he said that crop doesn't really take
So both of those are.
That one was
expired.
for 3 years.
but the Bryant farm though is still
It's 3
active.
It's
Yes,
still
3
active.
years.
That's 3 years. The Leppin is 1. It's done. Ended September 30th. And there's gonna be an open bid process and you'll get to vote on that. I think we decided mid-November. So
Yeah.
the next farm.
Great, Liz.
So is the Leppin one the one that Southside Park that was the
Yeah,
slope was
at the
too?
lagoons and stuff,
Okay,
yes,
yeah,
and I
okay.
thought that was a no, and then Yvonne looked it up in the minutes and it was like, yes, I even did award it, and I was like, well, great, cause I never told him.
All right, Danny.
I recall not being informed of that land not getting leased.
Yeah, because I forgot, I didn't realize, Denny, like, how can I tell you something that I thought was accurate and I'm telling you now, I found out now as we're going through this. I can't tell you something that I think is correct.
All right, anything else? It's after 10 now.
I'm gonna say something. So,
Memory is
just
not-
for clarification purposes. So this man was gonna farm it, but then the decision, something about the lay of the land, I remember talking about that. So he didn't take any money, so he didn't farm it, and so the city farmed it, so there you go.
So you didn't follow.
Or I mowed it, I'm sorry,
We
mowed it.
just continued as if we had
Yes,
all the
yes.
years prior,
Just like you have to mow everybody else's property that's got tall grass.
just like we've done for the years prior.
Yes.
I just thought we decided it was too dangerous and it was a no.
Okay. Alright, okay, Ian?
The curbs at the end of Sherman Street, where there was a complaint about those, the owners there have said they've made requests over the years, 7 years, they said, they wanted to redo their front yard, and are not able to because of the curbs are non-existent. So, can you look into the curbs at the end of Sherman Street? Sorry, it was Sherman, not the end, which I believe is, the northwest end.
Do you have more information on that?
I do not. Northwest Sherman Street. curve.
Yes, northwest Sherman Street
Do you
down,
have an address or?
she didn't give me an
property
address,
owner?
she did not give me.
So we're supposed to go look at the curbs on Northwest Street, Northwest
At the
Street.
end of Northwest.
Yes, it's not that long.
And I'm supposed to do what?
It sounds like, look at the curb, and it sounds like
The curbs are non-existent, is
Yeah.
what they're saying.
the one that has no curb. So, I guess,
Where there was a curb, but it's now gone, so that's what
So you're
she's saying.
telling me that essentially somebody removed, or there was a curb,
No.
and there's no longer
Oh,
a curb?
no,
and
just
they're
never
asking for
were
a
curb.
replacement?
No, the curb, there was a curb there, but now it is gone, the earth has reclaimed the curb
Okay.
and is now part of Mother Earth again. So we need to consider how we're going, if we're going to do anything there.
Okay.
Also, in regards to the library situation that happened, that the sergeant spoke about, there was a lot of folks in the city who were not aware of what was going on, and the city, and their complaint was very specifically that they didn't know what was going on in the city, and they knew that what the information the city was putting out was more or less, like, it was more or less misleading, or not leading to the full truth. And folks figured it out really quickly. It's not that hard to look in the window and see 4 deputies in the middle of the night. So, anyway, all I'm trying to say is that I believe that the council should think about ways in which we would like to respond to things like this. And also, we should examine the ways in which information is disseminated to us by law enforcement. I appreciate the hard work of the staff of the city. However, we are the ones who make the decisions, and the decisions cannot be made if we don't understand what's happening. So that's what I'd like to see in the future, and I'd like for us to all think about that if we can, and think about maybe something that we would like to see done differently, because clearly the citizenry is very upset at the way this was handled.
I agree, we should have a protocol, but when there's an investigation going on and giving out too much information is going to impede that investigation, that's not, you can't do that. I mean, there was clearly an investigation going on, and so the citizens need to understand that and have some compassion for the fact that, you know, they need to quietly do what they need to do, and it's not up to us to figure it out or go look in windows, which some people did, and that's ridiculous, because then they put it online and they had everybody up in arms in Sheridan. That when there's grown-ups know, when there's an investigation going on, let the authorities handle the investigation. Don't put it online and make a big to-do about it, and that's exactly what happened. But I agree with you on the point that I don't agree with you about being transparent about some things you shouldn't be transparent about, because really it was for the safety of the citizens, and that's why it was quiet. But we should have a protocol for a news release or something, but and just say this is under investigation. We can't give you much information. Just know that you're not you know, your safety isn't at risk, or something like that. But, you know, I saw all the, I'm not gonna swear, but I saw the BS online, and I couldn't believe what people were doing. Going and peeking in the windows and taking videos and posting them and speculating and making up their own theories. I mean, come on, people. You know, clearly something happened. It wasn't a good thing, and the city was doing what was in the best interest of everybody in this town. So that's what I have to say. I really was not impressed with what I saw online.
The sheriff alluded to some parts not being able to be spoken about. As he
Yeah,
said,
and that's
and
obvious.
I don't think he could give us the full explanation if he wanted to either. Roxy, do you have anything?
No.
Okay.
Liz said it, and I think it was conveyed.
Okay. All right, Ian?
I actually agree with you 100%. And I'd like for you to know that my comments were to reflect directly about communication and decisions being made that the city is required to make, and because we administer this building and we administer this city. And so I think this council should be more informed about that and what is happening in those moments, especially when that's happening. As far as the investigation goes, I am not concerned at this point about it, and have not been this whole time, and have never once asked about it, the investigation itself, or been interested in it in any way. So what my point is very specifically about what you said, which is that I believe we need to have some sort of method to be informed so that we know if we do need to make decisions. Because the news article that came out in the news register said something to the effect of like there was a single bag of crystals found.
It just said meth. It just
I
said
believe
meth
it
was.
said a bag of crystals, which turned out to be meth,
Yeah.
is what it said. And so that was news to me. And honestly, once I read the article, I thought, oh, this is no big deal. But I didn't know that. As far as I knew, there could be bins full of cocaine pouring out of the ceiling tiles. I don't know, because we don't know anything. And so if we don't know anything, that's difficult to make a decision, to say, maybe we should call the CDC if there's giant things of that.
Can I just put in a little note, and I'll let you finish, but I want to make a comment on the legal duties of the city and staff, and I guess information that everyone is privy to versus not. And so I guess from my standpoint, legally, right, is when a staff person, the librarian or the director or staff people find something like that, their job is to say, look, we found it, report it to the authorities, and that's the police or other agencies that need to be involved. And that's exactly what happened in this particular instance. I don't think at any point does staff or anyone except for the police really know exactly what the contraband was, what was confiscated, those types of things. And so I think from our standpoint, from a council standpoint, sometimes it's better not to know and just say, look, we're following the authorities. They've said to close the building, that they are going to run this investigation. And I know that it is human nature to want to know what's going on. I totally understand that. But from a legal standpoint, our job as a law firm, and of course as the council, is to protect the city. And at this point, I don't see that city staff has done anything out of step.
Thank you for your input. However, this is, your job may be to interpret the laws or whatever, but my job is to protect the people of the city, including the people who were in the library that day. And I'm concerned about those people. Those people matter to me. So does the pregnant woman who works at the library. That person matters to me. And it matters to me so much so that I think that the council needs to be informed about these things, the full nature of it, and information should not be withheld. And that's fine. If there's no information to give, then there's no information to give. If it's not legally allowed to be disseminated, that's great. It's not legally allowed to be disseminated. That's not what I'm asking for. Once again, I am asking for the council to be informed about what is going on in the city so that we can make decisions effectively to protect the people of this city. That's what I'd like to see.
Just rereading, something Heidi sent to us Saturday, September 28th, I think explains the situation.
You might wanna have Ms. Gallup review it before you read it.
Okay, well, I wasn't gonna read it, I was just gonna say, if anybody, any counselors want to review some of the information that we were shared with.
So I'm just gonna say that I felt like I was informed enough, and when they said, you know, refer anybody to the sheriff's and it's under investigation, you know, personally, that's enough for me, because I'm not a window cocker. And for those people they gotta do what they gotta do. When they say that there's nobody that's, you know, other than the people who found it, and I'm sure that the sheriff's dealt with them, outside of that scope, until they got their investigation done, I think the police pretty much set the rules down, which is, don't say anything. And you wanna go up against the sheriff, I mean, you could have challenged him there tonight, because when he says, refer any questions to the sheriff, let him do his job, that's what he gets paid for. He gets paid for protecting us, that's why we give him so much money out of our general fund. Let him do his job. When he's done, I'm pretty sure that it will be enlightened to the community. But I'm sure the people who were there, I'm sure the people that were in that building were taken care of by the people who went in after they called them and investigated it. Whether it's sent them to a hospital or just, you know, whatever their needs might have been, if they were paranoid or if they were upset or if they were legitimately something concerned, I'm sure that they diverted them to the right resources because that's their job. And as I'm, you know, taking care of the community, I'm going to teach people to obey the law and follow the law, not just because you want to know or you think that you have a right to know, because the law is the law. And those sheriffs are the ones who put the restrictions on us. So, you know, nobody asked me anything. Nobody said go find sheriffs.
Liz?
So and also the law enforcement or the sheriffs did the release to the news register. It wasn't someone here and they weren't being transparent with us. They chose what they released to the news register. And the only information in that article that was different than what we got was what the drug was.
Yeah, that's what I recall too. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that was that. But everything
I
else,
didn't know either, but that's what they released.
yeah, everything else in there, I knew, and a whole lot more.
That's incorrect, actually. Unless you were withholding information, that's incorrect. Because we didn't know the type of drug, we didn't know the amount of the drug, we didn't know where it was found, we didn't know who found it. This is like, I could go on and on about all the things that we didn't know, but that's not my point. Once again, I don't want to know any information that is privileged for law enforcement. Never have I asked for that. I've asked only to be informed about what the city knows, because the city is us. The city is the city council, period. End of story. Everyone else here is to support the council's activities and efforts to make this town better. The attorney is here to give us her legal advice to make sure that we don't get sued. The manager is here to carry out our wishes. The mayor is here to administer the meetings. But we are the ones who will make the decisions. So I would like for instance, in the policy, I would like for the sheriff to inform the council president first, before anyone else, about what he's doing and how he's responding to it, so that the council president can decide how he wants to also share this information with the council, so that we can make a decision together to say, what is it, how is it that we would like to move forward?
How would we move, like, as far as getting information out, or what? Like, we turn it over to, sheriff's office gets the,
everything else. Like, not the investigation. Can we just pretend like that's not happening for a second? Because I'm not talking about that and haven't been all evening. So I'm talking about the activity of information being disseminated to the council first, so that the council understands what's happening and can make those decisions. whatever those decisions are, they're gonna be subjected to whatever comes up.
Okay, I would argue we were informed, but we can always review, all the information we received. So I think we got a lot, especially that Saturday, and then emails and lots of things, but, hopefully nothing like this happens again, but if there is something that we think is missing, then yeah, we should have it. Jim?
Trying to reword yours the way I heard it. Basically, if there's an investigation going on in the city, we should know. And if we get told, here's what we have, here's the information we have, the sheriff says, can't tell you anything else. But now we know there's an investigation. I think, Ian's point is that if we don't even know there's an investigation going on,
But we did.
did we?
Yes. Yes, we did, absolutely. Read
Oh,
Heidi's
no, I don't wanna read
emails.
that one. What I wanted to read, and I'm not gonna go through the whole email, although I can dig it up, is the one that said that apparently there's been a leak and no more information goes to the council.
Oh.
That,
There were a couple prior to that, though, that gave us a lot more information about what happened at the library.
Yeah,
I
that,
was informed.
yeah, that,
I also got that one too,
the
though.
day of at 2 PM, she shared it.
and the text string,
Yeah.
Yes.
you didn't say, I can dig it up, I'm not gonna, but didn't you say, I didn't even know that, something to that effect?
That was when the release came out from the News Register about it being meth. And I said, I never knew that. That's the part I didn't know, but everything else was, we were informed of. And I remember investigation, and I thought, oh, I guess that means, nobody's supposed to say anything, so I just kind of let it go. I mean, that's how I let stuff go, because if the sheriff say, there's an investigation, I'm not gonna push that death, but no, that's why, because I didn't know what it was. That's the first I've ever heard of it, and I believe that's what I think I said, that's the first I've heard of that, because it said something about that. They found that, and I didn't know anything about that.
I think the best way to handle this, after what Counselor Houston is requesting, is that all the information doesn't come from me, it comes from the attorneys, or it comes from the law enforcement. So, that's the end of that, I think.
Okay.
Because it's not my investigation. So.
It's not the city's investigation
Yeah,
either.
exactly, so it's not my place to fill council in on something that doesn't belong to the city.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you did it anyway, even though I tried, but.
Okay.
What?
Okay, Liz?
Sorry, but I agree with you, Ian, that we need a protocol, even as far as a news release, just a pat statement, like, there's a situation here that the library's closed because it's under investigation. It's not, the safety of the citizens is not an issue, is a non-issue.
So that was, I believe, done, and that was done with the approval of law enforcement. And so, that language was, vetted with the investigating partners.
Yeah, I put something else, I'm sure people didn't like it, but that didn't go out.
Next time, I think we'll just ask the sheriff's office to release their own information and encourage them to be doing their own press release. Is what this sounds like. Needs to be clear that it's something that the sheriff's office is doing. They took it, that just like council has said, or Ms. Gall has said, is that we called, and then after that, the second that the police arrived, it was not ours any longer. This isn't what we do. We don't do investigations. We have a fire district, a police district, essentially.
So I just wanna say, it falls under the category of, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So I'm glad that you did it, and now if you don't say it, you're gonna probably get your ass chewed out again for not saying anything to us.
Yeah.
So I like the way you did it the first time, versus hearing it from some other source other than our city manager. I would prefer hearing it from the city manager or you, because I know that we work for when it comes to law enforcement, because like you said, I didn't know that they directed, and it sounds feasible, you know, you've said, okay, I've done that, okay, what do you want me to say? And you typed it out just like they told you. I don't think you need to explain this, and by the way, the police told me to say it just like this. I mean, it's just some things that I just don't question as much as other people do. But I wanna thank you for sending that, and I thought it was informative, and that's all I needed to know. Thank you very much.
All right, can we adjourn?
I make a motion, we dismiss this thing.
Okay, second. All right, I don't know if we have to vote, all in favor?
Yeah.